All right, good afternoon, everyone. Planning, March 30th. We have
Nobody.
no one.
Nope.
Okay. All right, I'll call the meeting to order. First item was the withdrawn. That was the contract with the Glow Region Solid Waste. It was previously approved in 2021.
Right.
Okay, Mr. Bragg. Of these first, and then I'll get your updates here, okay?
Yes, sir.
First item is to extend one position or a keyboard specialist part-time. temp. This is a schedule A, step 2, time to exceed 14 hours per week, $200 effective March 26th through June 24th, 2022. This is just extending Brianna.
Yes,
Brittany, for another 3 months, correct?
yes, sir.
Okay. This is to cover our influx of work as a result of the waste management conversion. You motion for that? I do, sir. Okay, thank you. I have a motion from Supervisor Kozlowski. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, next one is to appoint Amy Opferbeck, Tyler Road, Arcade, New York, as a voting member of the Wyoming County Planning Board for your term effective January 1 of this year through December 31st, 2024. Supportly held by Mr. Dr.
Yep.
Yep. Arcade. Okay. I assume that she wants the position.
Yeah, I know Amy, I talked to her. I'm not part of it, but I know Amy and I talked to her and she don't want to do it.
Yeah, she's already showed up to a couple meetings. She's very excited and enthusiastic about joining.
Great. Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Granger. Any further discussion? Favor? Okay, all right. Report update.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and supervisors. First, I just want to give an update before we go into garbage. Some of the successes we have had. Community action with Rosie, Joan at Cornell Proctor Extension. We're just about to get ready to submit our farm worker replacement housing under the CARES Act. Under that, we are applying for up to $1 million. We've already had meetings with farms and surveyed farmers of what's out there. In May, there will be a public hearing, and after the public hearing, the application will be submitted. Community action will be the sub-recipient. One of the things that kind of applying for our workers is that the dairy industry for this grant made it really difficult because even though a lot of the workers are from Guatemala, Mexico, they're not considered migrant workers per the Department of Labor definitions. And there was an income or a moderate to low income requirement, and our workers are literally within hundreds of dollars of that threshold. So it was a little bit of a lift to make this work. I think we're there, and I said we have at least 5 farms that will be in our application. So that's exciting. Also, we did win a NYSERDA Just Transition Grant for $150,000 through Silver Springs. And we've had a consultant of Labella Associates. NYSERDA will be paying them directly, so that won't have to go through our coffers. This is really helpful for both Silver Springs and the county. They'll be doing an inventory analysis of roads, bridges, pipes, wires, economic market analysis, and this will be helpful when we go to apply for CFAs. So for $150,000 and having one of the top-notch, not just the best consulting firms, but at Plans, true professional, I think we're going to get a lot of bang for the buck, well, not just the village, but also the county. As well as we have 2 active transportation grants, one for the village of Arcade and one for the village of Warsaw, which I will be helping administer. Both those grants are helpful in that when we go to apply for CFAs, the governor's budget has many downtown revitalization initiatives, which are the brick and mortar grants. And this is very, very helpful. This is really strategically aligning our villages for that money, big money. So that's where we're at with that. Our garbage, we are now ending our phase 1 of people selecting a 96 versus 64 gallon tote. And over here are examples of a 96 and a 64 gallon tote. So this is the larger 96 gallon tote. If someone, the default is that you get 2 of these, one for garbage, one for recycling. The recycling would have a yellow lid. And this is a 64 gallon set. Again, you get one for garbage, one for recycling. One of the issues we've had about up to 1,300 requests for these. Right before the final submission was made, about 300 people decided they liked the 96 4-gallon tote and they rescinded the request for 64. So that has created a lot of confusion. And we're still getting requests from people saying, hey, I want the bigger tote. Unfortunately, the time to change, to go back, to switch, make a different decision is over. So whatever was submitted on March 18th is fine. I have our staff has sent out an Excel sheet to all of the participating supervisors so they know which of their constituents have made such requests. So that has been kind of interesting. We've had about 4,000 phone calls. After about 2,500, we lost count, but just estimating. So the call volume is there, and actually the call volume is getting more complex. So we have people with really complex situations. Notably, they aren't getting any mailings. And so our initial reaction is, oh, well, it's getting lost in the mail. Well, unfortunately, it's not the case. A lot of people have been receiving garbage service, but not paying a recycling fee. So they've been putting the garbage out to the curb, but it's not noted on our tax records. So that is going to be a big issue. Real Property Services is kind of at the forefront of this issue. And that's a conversation to have, is to the absence or really a defined eligibility for who can be in the garbage program. A lot of nonprofits, particularly in Perry Public Library, the fire department, they've asked how they can get into it. So this is something, how do we tweak so that nonprofits get it? Also, churches have been inquired, how can we get into the garbage program? Perry Public Library, they were told, you have to have a contract on your own. And the quote that they received is 4 times what they would pay if they were in the county program. So that is an issue. It's one of those things that have a nice bright line for eligibility agreements, eligibility requirements or guidelines. But as Don Roberts has said, like over the years, a lot of the very sensitive political compromises have been made to make it work. And the issue is, if we have, how do we have guidelines and still maintain civility. So I know that one of the Sarah's been a wonderful on this, and we had, you know, a baseline of what has been used in the past. And one of the possible recommendations would be to have these guidelines and then let individual towns determine who's in or who's out. So they make that decision, as opposed to someone in the ag center. So I don't know if that's to begin the conversation with that, that's issue number one.
I'm sorry, repeat that.
Would you like me to continue, or would you like to have a discussion on that,
On what?
on the eligibility?
No,
So just continue.
sure, you sent the guidelines out, right?
There were actually a couple of questions that I had and things together, if you don't mind. One thing away. So there were a couple of issues that needed clarification. Don Roberts, myself, Jim, and Pat from Waste Management all got together on a call to discuss some of these. So we're just gonna go over some of the bigger ones. So if you look at the guidelines that were sent out, this is from, I think they're from New Way, I think is the garbage service. And so just recreated it and tweaked it a little bit. But in these guidelines, it says 1, 2, 3 family year-round residences. And then you can go up to 4 if there's multiple buildings on the property. Right now, in the county, it's about 50-50 for these 4-unit properties, which doesn't sound like a big deal, except for the fact that now we're talking about 8 totes in the middle of some of these villages during plowing season. So is that too many totes? Should they be on dumpster? And before they weren't really allowed in, and now half of them have been allowed. So where do we draw that line? Should these 4 units be in or should they not be? 4 units from a real property standpoint is where it clicks over from being a regular residential property to being an apartment. So more like a commercial and how we assess it. So that's where we kind of turn that over. So I'm assuming that's where they got that from originally. So, I mean, is there a preference? Should the 4 units in, be out? I would need to know this because tentative rules coming out in a month. So I need to put garbage units on or not put garbage units on, depending on what you guys decide. Preference, either way.
Are these in the villages, is that where you're talking?
Some are in the villages. I have a list right here, but and I can send it out. But it really depends on who the assessor is. Which ones are in and which ones are out, but I mean, there's a broad range. Like I said, it's about 50-50.
How many parcels of time are we talking about?
I think it was 40, we're around 40.
How was Waste Management handled this?
That's a great question. I did ask them that. They said we're the only county that they actually handle. So they handle it more on a local level. So it's just a town level. And they said it varies depending in these situations. They said, and correct me if I didn't pick up on everything that they had said, but in these types of situations, they would reach out to the property owner and provide a private service in the form of either totes or the dumpster. So we could say that you're not in the program, and then they can turn around and offer them totes. So it's one of those things that's like, I'm not sure if it's going to be beneficial to require them to have a dumpster, but on the other hand, when you think about tenants, are they going to be pulling these in and out? Is 8 too many? So as a supervisor or as a village or a town, could you say, well, we're going to require you to get a dumpster instead of having garbage all over the place, which is occurring right now. We actually had someone call in. There was well, you can explain.
Yeah, on Wyoming Street, there's someone who purchased new apartment building. There'd been a dispute with the tenants, so they just cleaned out and just dumped everything literally on the front lawn. The village police chief contacted the landlord contacted Waste Management, they contacted me. And I said, well, by the way, you're not in the program. And he said, well, the garbage has always been picked up. I go, 1, the garbage has to be properly contained. And secondly, you know, it's been great that this property's been getting collection, but you're not on the rolls. And so come May 2nd, it's nice and it's very kind-hearted workers for picking up your garbage. Come the conversion in May 2nd, you're not going to have totes, you're not going to get picked up.
And the worries are these people that are throwing garbage everywhere, gonna take the totes out and in, in a timely fashion, or would it be better for them to have a dumpster?
Are the ones with 4 apartments, are they charged 4 times?
Yes, sir.
They should be, but
No.
I don't know.
not all.
I think that's an overkill. You know, 4 dumpsters and 4. I would think a regular dumpster would be the way to go. And I don't know what the cost would be, but
Right, and so what makes it,
8 of those things out on the road. Just crazy.
No, especially when they got separated so far apart
Oh, yeah.
for pickup.
Wow.
A lot of space.
Yeah. Might not be enough space in a lot.
And that'd be a,
Yeah,
Put it there.
yeah, you're absolutely right.
Well, moreover, that's just trash. On a recycling, you could have double that.
But in this circumstance of Wyoming, they have 4 for garbage and 4 for recycling.
I see.
So they 8 total.
8, all right. Okay. A lot.
so if we give them a dumpster, then they probably won't recycle anything, everything will go in the dumpster.
Well, they haven't paid for the dumpster privately.
But everything would probably go in there, you know. They would-
it's possible.
Yeah, you find all kinds of stuff, electronics or.
But also, play devil's advocate, Don has examples of where the circumstance warranted. So that's where we kind of had, it's very muddy of where we're at.
Whatever we decide, I will either need to remove the garbage charge moving forward, and potentially, if we decide to add the rest, I will have to apply a unit tax if we start service.
Tell us, your side of it?
Yeah, we've been allowed up to the 4 units. The 8 totes in, in comparison to the dumpster is gonna take up the same footprint. And, if you think about it in this way too, is that we've been doing curbside collection now for over a decade, right? And it's the same problem whether we give them new garbage cans or not. There's still 4 units, there always has been 4 units, and they've been picking up there for 11 to 13 years now. So there's a lot of consolidation efforts that go on between units, so that not all 8 are gonna show up to the curb at the same week. Recycle is every other week, not everybody takes the recycles out once a month. So, just what we've seen in the past, it was a fast track record. We thought it was more beneficial to just let the 4s in and let them pick up. We haven't had that many problems with them. This one that's moved out is because we got a tenant that's moving out. They left everything in the street. There's nothing you're gonna do regardless of the program to fix those things.
So what are you saying then? Let it go?
I would let it go. My personal opinion, I would let it go. We've let in the program over the years to bring the 4 in. It was easier. A lot of the sites, especially in the village where you have an apartment house that big, you're in the village limits now. They can't get in the driveway to place the dumpster to pick it up. They'd rather the garbage get out to the curbside.
Problem I have with that, Don, is that it's not equitable. I mean, other county residents are paying annually for their trash collection.
Right.
Why should you allow some people to not have to pay that fee?
Well, they're not. If they're 4, they're getting 4 recycle fees.
Yeah, I will add the fees and I will apply the unit tax, so if they
That's the
have.
other side of the coin, Sarah. However, I'm adding over $1,000 of annual expense to that particular property.
Correct.
That's not interesting.
but you're gonna add that, you're
Pay it all.
gonna pay that for the dumpster.
The dumpster will be more.
Yeah.
We're small in our programs. The fee is very low.
Wait a minute. Middlebury pays for a 4 cubic yard dumpster. We picked up weekly, or maybe bi-weekly, I can't remember. That bill is only $80 a month.
Well, the Perry Public Library librarian called and she got a quote 4 times, almost $1,000.
For sure, but I'm just telling you, I write the check, it's no more than $85 a month with some, that's it. or 4 cubic yard dumpster. That's pretty cheap.
Is that waste management?
Yes.
That would be up to the people
We pay more than that at the airport than they do. Yeah.
$85 a month.
for now.
Pavilion Fire Company pays $185 a month.
They want to slow it down, take it off the fence.
Yeah, still over $1,000 a year.
I can't tell you what we pay, but and then we call it that.
What is that with garbage collection?
And then it costs the dump.
A year.
263
A year.
a year, I understand that, yeah,
So it's a
but
lot.
that's times 4.
Yes.
If you had 4 units,
It's a little over $1,000 a year.
It's still cheap.
how many burn them as an effigy? I think, you know, plus all of that stuff that's sitting out by the road, you know. I don't know. I think 2, limit up to 2. You could fit a lot of trash in that big 86 gallon, at least 3 or 4 bags. Or you take it by a case basis, depending on number of units.
I mean, that's, I guess, why we're here. So if it's 1 unit, then, like, if it's a single family home, you get charged for 1 unit, 1 set of totes, and it goes up from there. So if it's categorized in our system as a 230, that's a 3-family house, they get the 3 cents. So we do it by, we actually do it by number of kitchens.
Pardon?
Kitchens.
Number of kitchens.
Yes, so if you have a house and then you have an apartment over a garage, we do 1 full unit and 1 seasonal charge per half because, you know, the garage is not full. So it's very creative the way this has been implemented, but
And for those towns that don't utilize countywide assessing, it's our assessor's responsibility then, isn't it?
it's all, yes, so I've worked with all the assessors on this. The way, we kind of changed our policy on how it gets built out last year to kind of clean things up a little bit, have a little less hands in the pot. So now, when Don goes out and issues a CFO, he then sends it over to my office, and from that day forward is when I then apply an omitted tax on the next tax bill. So there's no invoicing in between. That's how it's done right now, is when they issue the CFO in a town, the assessor then puts it on next year's roll, so we alert them by, you know, them sending over that CFO, and then we calculate the omitted tax.
So much cleaner than what it used to be. So much.
Would you see this? So
It's so much cleaner than it used to be.
Yeah.
It was a disaster.
And like Don said, this problem is it's a one-time problem. The bottom line, people are gonna abuse whatever system you put out there. I had residents when New Way broke the contract or went bankrupt, and we had to pick up waste management. I had people on 238 question me, when do you have to pick up my garbage? I said, we don't do garbage pickup. That's not true. I've been getting it for the last 5 years. Not by the town of Anacostia, because they had, New Way didn't know where the town line was. And they knew enough up there to abuse the system, to sit there and say, well, if you put the garbage out, those New Way guys will just keep picking up. So I accused them, I said, well, are you gonna go back and pay New Way for the last 5 years? Because New Way went bankrupt because people like you.
That was gonna be blatantly obvious though. Because you'll either
it is.
get a tow, or you're not gonna get a tow.
Like I said, people, I'm sure there'd be hundreds of that, there'd be hundreds, I'll bet you, around the county, I'd say, well, come on, you get told, well, you haven't been paying for it in the first place.
But we're getting those calls,
Yeah.
they're quickly coming in.
So Sarah, you recall, I think you and I had been in contact, a particular resident of the town of Middlebury that owned property in the village and it was paid for garbage collection through the taxes. But then, owned property outside of the village in the form of a pole barn that was we were using as a recreational location. And they were putting trash out. They didn't live there, putting trash out. And so I contacted you, I think, and you sent me to the assessor. And then he contacted them and then nothing really happened. And then ultimately I had the town attorney write them a letter and say, hey, listen, you know, you want to join the waste management program, You can do it on a seasonal basis, but here's the cost, you know? You have to pay for those services, and that's my position. If you're gonna utilize those services, you gotta pay more.
Now, one of the other issue that we're gonna focus on as well is these roads where they bring the garbage down to the end of the street. However, not everyone on the street is paying for garbage, so, I mean, it's like an honor system. You think you swear you're not bringing your garbage down, along with the people that actually are paying. So it's been a little bit difficult. Now it's getting more obvious because they're gonna have totes. But we need to know, you know, where the line is with which streets they bring it down. And then if they're bringing it down, we will charge everyone on the road. We'll add all of those recite fees. They're bringing it to the end of the
Well,
street.
many of those places could be seasonal.
It could be seasonal, and depending on how the assessor assesses them, if they are categorized as a 260, which is a seasonal property, most of the time those properties do not have electricity, do not have plumbing, they can't reside in those properties year round. That's when they're classified as a seasonal property. And for those, they get a seasonal charge.
I was thinking that there are likely cottages around Silver Lake that are winterized, that are closed up for 6 months out of the year. Are those considered seasonal?
Well, that's actually a conversation I wasn't gonna dive into here, but, there's a little bit of a debate whether or not could your property be used year round? If it could, then you should have a year round charge versus if your property cannot be used, not because you choose not to use it, but cannot be used year round because of lack of electricity plumbing, should it be seasonal? And that did come up. Because there's a wide range and it's not being applied necessarily equitably. For instance, if I'm in Silver Lake and I'm only there, you know, the summer months, and I tell them I want seasonal garbage, they have a seasonal charge. But if I live in the village of Warsaw and I'm an elderly person that goes to Florida, you don't get a choice because you live in Tucson. So there's been another discussion that we've been debating as well. Part of, you know, looking through that is that I do send that list out to you guys as a town board for you to look over because you know those properties inside and out. And you can see which ones are being charged seasonally versus year round. So as a town board, you can take a look and if you see any discrepancies, you can work with the assessor and seeing which one should be charged what. I sit in the office on the third floor. It's hard for me to know, okay, this person should have 6 months, this person should have a year. So that's why this document is so important, because when I actually put it on the bill, I don't know who should be and who shouldn't. That's why this is so important. So I need to know, are 411s 4 units charge? Is it a 2 unit charge and they only get 2 totes? Or is it you have to order a private dumpster? I would need to know that, like, now, because I have to put together the tentative roll for May 1st. So the sooner the better on that answer.
You have a recommendation?
Honestly, typing in 4 units versus typing in 2 or delete, to me, you know, it's you as supervisor, you're gonna get the calls, there's a million totes out there, or, you know, why can't I be in the program? So, I mean, you guys are the ones that are gonna have to deal with the residents on a local level and say whether or not you feel they should be in or should not be in, which is why we felt it was more appropriate to come to the board and discuss this. So you as supervisors could say, this is what I think, because you're gonna be the ones giving the phone calls on this.
I have just one other thing. There are others that are above 4, like 33 Brooklyn, which Jim Murkowski owns, is a 5 unit. So you're gonna have 10 of those. There won't be room in the frontage for 10 of those.
It's funny that you bring that, we actually discussed that exact property on the phone call. The reason that was put in is because it's 2 different houses.
No, it's not. It's 1 unit.
Oh, it's only 1 unit.
One house. We used to own it. It's 5 units. There's 2 up front that are up and down. There's 2 upstairs that are, and then there's 1 in the back half. It's 5 units, all one building.
So we have a different address.
If we're talking, I don't know if that address is right, the one we're talking about has 2 houses on the same lot.
No, it's the one, you know where the light is.
24 Brooklyn, we have this too.
It's not 24, it's 33. I believe.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, 24. It's a 5-unit. I'm just thinking out loud that, and of those, there's not enough frontage there.
That would be out.
Yeah, 5 unit,
So-
yeah, this is 4.
So, yeah, we can't have it at all. 4 is the cap.
Or is it?
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah, that's what we're debating.
I don't have to do, so it's all new to me.
Other thoughts? The decision really comes down to,
There's basically 3 options, because either charge it for all 4, you're gonna get 8 totes. As Don said, a lot of the time there's consolidation. So one compromise would be, we only allow 2 totes out there, and we only charge them the 2 units. And then if they personally need additional garbage service, I guess they could go to a private provider and say, hey, I also need a dumpster. Or request a couple of totes from them directly, I guess that would be.
But they would be charged then for the 2 sets.
So they would only be charged for the 2 sets. But then again, they would be limited to the amount of garbage that fits in 2 of those. So it's not like they'd have 4 times the garbage only charged for 2.
this would be up to how many units?
Up to 4. 4 is really the top.
4 units having 2 totes.
Correct, that would be a second option.
Okay,
The third is they are not in the program and they have to contact Waste Management to get either a dumpster or some kind of other service.
that could be painful.
This will be, waste management, something else.
Yeah. So we have 3 options here. I'm personally kind of leaning to option 2, which would be 2 totes. Those are the big ones. You fit a lot of garbage in those. I mean, you can get 4 bags in one of those. Easily.
So I understand that if they only get 2 totes and then they're a 4-unit place, they get charged for 2.
Yeah, or you could do 3 because of the cutoff, you know, because there are 3 families.
No, I'm just saying, if it's 4, they get 2.
And something to consider about the garbage totes, it doesn't have to be completely flat onto the road. It could be up to a 45-degree angle. The only time they won't pick it up is when the lid's like this.
So that might be consolidating on the 40 units that you've spoken to, or they consolidating to 2 totes or 3 totes?
So they're leaving most of the cans back along the house. They're only bringing a couple out and all the tenants just use a couple of the cans.
So,
I have a couple of 4-unit buildings in the county that have ordered 3 totes, but know that they're paying 4 recycle fees. And they want it that way.
It's their prerogative.
But we made the cap at 4 and involved, they pay for 4 recycle fees regardless of the number of cans. You want all 8, we're bringing it. You want 3, we'll bring you 3, but you are gonna get charged for 4.
It's supposed to be, it's currently rented.
And that's why it's gonna be.
Should be charged.
Or you,
Or by our contract with waste management.
by the contract with Waste Management is charged per unit. That's per our contract.
That's a separate agreement you personally have.
No, that's in the Waste Management contract.
How is that possible?
It's a charge per unit. It's
Okay,
and if we're gonna serve up to 4,
and they only use 3?
you get 4 recycle fees, but if you only want 3 garbage cans, that's just an order deal, that's all that is.
Okay.
But contractually, we have to charge them, sure, that's the way the contract.
Right. That's your choice.
see some possible pushback, charging for 4 totes, but only receiving 3.
See that, sure.
I mean, if it's 3 totes worth of garbage,
But there were, in this case, though, there was a willingness to pay that.
Yeah, they know it up front. They're just like, charge me off for all 4, but I can't have 8 garbage cans here, I don't have room for it. My lot is, I have a 5 foot setback from the edge of the unit, all three sides of the house to the next door neighbor's lot. I don't have any more room to put all that.
So Don, what you're pointing out is that our contract, the county's contract, with Waste Management states that we're paying for 4 units.
We have to charge them that way. We understand.
So there's really no discussion, that's what our contract says, that's what it is.
It's no different than before.
All
They don't
right.
have the other side.
Sure.
Let's not forget about the expenditure side of what
All right.
we're talking about.
Okay, so that would be, as you're describing it, that would be what option 1, right?
So we either charge them 4 units, give them 4 sets of totes.
Okay,
Option 2 would be, charge them, let's say 3, because 3 is really good. 3 units, they get 3 sets of totes, because that's the same as a 230 that is allowed in the program. Like I said, if they decide they only want 2, that's fine, but I would think most would be okay with the 3, and then they're getting charged for what they're actually receiving. I feel like there might be a little pushback saying I'm getting charged an additional charge, even though in the contract it says per unit and not actually receiving a service, we could run into a little bit of an issue, because I'm taxing someone who's not receiving a service. So like a special district, a water district can't be charged for a property that can't connect in. It's kind of the same idea, like if we're charging you for a unit that you can't receive a tote for to actually have pickup.
all they can do is ask for it. Deliver a tote.
When we get their
Well,
totes, just
They'll
don't
get
use them.
3, they'll get 3 totes. And if
Okay,
they're being charged 4 units, then we're charging them a whole unit for something that they don't actually get a benefit from.
Yeah. I would charge.
But that's not the second option. The first option is 4 units, 4 totes. Second option is 4 units with 3 charges and 3 totes, or you're on your own.
And then what do they have to pay Waste Management?
We would tell them 3, because it's not the unit of what's actually on the property, it's the number of garbage units
Okay.
assigned. That's what we charge.
Just to make sure that we got control of that too.
Yes, so whatever we assign as garbage units, although we charge per unit, is the number of units, not necessarily how many residential units are.
so from a procedural standpoint, so that we can get out of here sometime today. Why don't we vote on these individually? Or no?
If we went around the room and everybody said what they wanted, that would work better, because
All right,
So option 1 is 4 units, 4 sets.
Yes.
Option 2 is 4 units, 3
3
sets.
charges, 3 sets, yes.
And option 3 is go with that.
You're on.
Yes.
I'm ready.
option 1, 4 units, 4 totes.
I'm not on the committee, but I go with option 2.
Option 2, 3 units, 3 totes.
You can have it, because I'm not in this program.
We're not in this, I'm not in this program either, so I don't have a preference, and I don't think it's fair for me to give one.
Okay,
All right, hold on. Let's do it this way. We're going backwards. So you're gonna say,
I'm out. Whatever you want.
never mind, okay.
Somebody can-
Robert is not here.
I'm saying 1.
1. Okay,
I'm sorry, Joe.
1. 4 units, 4 totes. Granger is 4 units, 4 totes.
I'll see how, I see.
You're staying on it.
1. Jerry?
I guess 1.
Look at that. You made a decision. The ones have it. 4 units, 4 totes.
Okay.
And just as a quick follow-up.
Which tenant for the
I don't want this to get out. So would someone care to make that as a motion? I will. Thank you Supervisor Berlanger. Any further discussion? All in favor? Done.
This is a follow-up, so now all 4 units are
Feels like my job.
eligible for
Or,
garbage.
Jerry, you
So
know?
therefore, they will also be contacted if they have been receiving a service through Waste Management. I will be applying a limited tax from data service, which most likely will be for the entire year, which means they will have a double garbage charge moving forward on their taxes.
Jim, when you get the guidelines, the draft guidelines finalized between you and Sarah, can you send them to me so that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's great.
All right.
A big one.
So now you're all set for the assessment.
Pretty much. The only other thing is I'm waiting on a list from Waste Management to tell me where they pick up at the end of the street. So we will be adding that to the guidelines. And just to be clear, moving forward, if they pick up at the end of the street, they will all be receiving a garbage charge, one form or another. If they are labeled as a seasonal property, they will get a seasonal charge. If they're labeled as a year-round property, they will get the year-round charge. Moving forward, if they pick up at the end of the road, no matter what, we will be adding them if you are okay with that. I'm assuming everyone will be okay with that because it's the only way to do it fairly. So I'm waiting that we will add that into the guidelines as well.
Put your phone number to speak that.
I'll leave a message, so when they get to us, say, can Dan lower his cell phone number? For help. So I think, was there anything else that I missed on or Jim, I think that was one of the
So
things.
the other issue is government nonprofits, so public
Yes.
library, fire departments. Should they be allowed to be included?
Why not?
Okay.
Well, right now, commercial properties are not allowed, so,
Right.
so they are right now getting their garbage picked up without a recycling. So if you would like, I mean, if they, so then, again, when you talk about implementation, from my standpoint, people receiving a nonprofit exemption are eligible, is that all nonprofits, certain nonprofits?
We're gonna send them a tax bill.
And we're gonna send it, we can, because we do it for certain special districts on all section 8. However, it's like, there has to be a cutoff. A library is one thing, but let's say, like YMCA, they're not nonprofit, are they in the program?
Must have done so. What about that?
Okay.
Right line.
What about a church?
A church, it depends. If they have a residence on the church property, then yes. Right now, we do it by kitchens. So if there's a residence with a kitchen on the church property, let's say, you know, priest or pastor lives on the property, and there's a residence, then they can get a tote, but they, as a regular church, you know, as a business, would not receive that.
We have our ambulance building, somebody's there 24/7, you know, there's kitchen in there, but they're gonna get picked up, but probably have not been charged at all.
Have they been getting picked up? Again, I mean, it could be, if it's commercial, right now in the guidelines, it says it's commercial property that has a residence, so what is a residence? Right, I mean, if your emergency services, you have a bed, you have a kitchen, could that be considered? Again, when we send that list to the town, I guess, that can be debated. I mean, I would think you would have to have a kitchen and place to sleep to be considered a residence. So that would leave a library out, a church out. Right now, a post office is getting a resident fee, I'm not sure why. I don't know.
Are you looking for some guidance here?
Right, so it was mentioned that nonprofits should be in, but what I'm saying is, it's possibly more difficult than just saying, sure, that's a library, they should have a tote. It could get a little bit.
So, from an administrative standpoint, an assessment standpoint, makes your life a lot more difficult, right? That is to occur. If you're gonna assess a garbage fee to a tax exempt property,
I mean, that's fine, it doesn't matter, so it's as simple as me going in and putting recycle fee, and it will auto-generate a bill based on what I send over to the tax printing place off of that file, because it has a recycle fee, it will generate a bill even though it's a nonprofit. It will, there's a fee associated with it. The problem is, where is the cutoff? So, I mean, right now, the cutoff is kitchen and residence, so a kitchen and a bedroom, or a place where someone would sleep, like a garage apartment could be a studio, but it has a kitchen, a place where someone sleeps. The library doesn't,
right?
so they would be out.
That works, sure. In my,
We'll take that, because we've had 2 requests from libraries to give totes,
To get tokens.
yes.
In town halls.
what about town?
She wants them.
You want trash collection, you wanna pay for it?
I'll do it however it is necessary, but they've been picking it up.
And without being assessed for it.
So we used to be part of the village, and the village was the last one to come in,
Okay,
and they've been picking up, and they also pick up at the highway. where we don't just for regular garbage. And then we could do dumpster fire.
We do like government facilities, because that would be
That would-
libraries, you know, emergency services, municipalities. That would, I think maybe.
I mean, in some cases, municipalities like ours has the container around back.
You're getting a great deal.
I know,
See, we don't, we didn't have room for one because we actually let people park from the egg center
right,
and we're parking lot.
you have a lot of trash.
Take it down the exit.
No, it's like a bag.
I'll go out and put it in the papers.
In the past, they've just been doing the town halls as a courtesy, not asking any questions. But when the total deliveries hit, they're not in the program.
It's gonna be a great awakening.
That's right. Not in the program, you get towed there, we don't get collected. I don't know.
I just need to know what to do. We are going to be in a special district, but like I said, we cannot put a dumpster there, because that would take away 2 parking spaces of the egg center would want to.
Sure. Yeah, well, you can take them home to your house.
Well, from what I recall, Waste Management does do private tow service as well. So I wonder if you could contract a tow with building, with,
And it's maybe recycling, it's paper recycling. And then our other stuff.
If you contract private, you know.
correct,
Correct.
yes, yes.
This is easy.
I'm not going to.
So this is kind of where we sit, it's like half yes or no, so I don't know how to apply the units.
Go back to the original issue, utilize the service.
Okay, and then all municipalities, that would be fine, so I put Warsaw, but that means every municipality.
No, because I already have a private service, and as does many other municipalities. But if you're in,
dumpster.
if you're using the tows, that's your only way of collecting your trash, you pay for it.
How am I to know the tax?
Well, if they want the service, they can contact you.
It's a formality.
Well, that's the question.
That's what, that's the question, Katie.
Wait, you handle assessing or something,
I handle tax bills, so I put the charges on.
bingo. Sure.
So just put it on, Sarah, put it on them. If you want the tow service, contact you if you're a government agency and you're gonna be charged, and make it their responsibility to contact you. Instead of you having to contact everybody and ask them.
Yeah.
So what do we just negotiate a special rate then, or?
We usually. try
No,
to
not a
make
special
things-
rate, but whatever the tax rate. would be.
Whatever the tax rate is.
Whatever the-
673 a year. Right, is that what we're-
260.
To split off.
Yeah, sure.
Whatever the tow charge is. I mean, you're talking Warsaw. I don't know anybody else that wants it at their town hall, other than.
Well,
We do.
more like libraries, emergency-
We do.
You want it at your town hall, so copy.
You don't have a dumpster over there?
I mean, I'll take it at my town hall, but I don't think they're gonna come all the way to Jacob for it, so.
So libraries and post office and town halls. That's how it goes.
I think, the fire halls, as far as, if they have an event, everybody takes a bag home. So don't worry about it. That'll be,
You don't want those chicken bones.
yeah, just take them home, throw them in the dumpster, and it'll go away. So just like Becky, I can understand why should they pay full amount on what they have, maybe they should be seasonal. Yeah.
Sure.
Or you can. Dumpster into parking lot.
Dumpster at the airport, better run it up there.
So I just need to know whether municipalities, libraries, post office should be charged.
Only if they use the service.
Well, we don't give residents an option. They're either in or they're out, depending on how they're assessed. So right now, a municipality,
Well,
it's
the residents use the service.
some use it, not the person that lives in a 210 that goes to Florida for half the year, they use it half, but we still charge them people a year. So,
But they do have very seasonal.
But we just.
We had that discussion.
We went over that.
We went over that.
We went over it several times.
Did they have did they got a kitchen or did they got a bath?
that's the part, we really need a black and white charge, do not charge, so that we don't have
Sarah,
to.
good size.
Yeah,
Do they got a microwave?
either municipalities are charged.
Right?
or not.
I guess we're in trouble, right? We qualify.
It's way. What's your pleasure? Doesn't sound like there isn't.
Right. This is the issue, I have to apply a charge or not apply one, or they won't get a tow, you won't get a tow if I don't put a reset.
So you want me to tell you what's been done in the past? In the past, if they would call us, we told them no. So since the curbside collection's been picked up, it's a town hall, commercial, anything combined commercially, you're on your own. We're not charging a recycling fee. That's what's been done in the past.
With municipalities?
Yep.
Fire halls, libraries,
They're on their own.
what about the case of Foresight here? They're
So
on
like I
their
said, in the past, so they've been picking up our town halls as a courtesy because
Yeah.
own. All right,
they're in the program, but
that would be actually much cleaner. I think, if you want the service, they go out and contract for it.
yes, sir. Yep. That's what we've done in the past.
Well, then these guidelines, and that's what I look at.
Okay,
I'll put a poster, and 4 units are, do that as well.
we need to look on that.
They're gonna be in their guidelines, they're gonna provide updated guidelines.
Sorry.
Gonna go by that.
Okay,
Then we'll go on,
Okay, we still have 45 minutes.
once they're done.
And then Cheryl invited me back, and that's. Sorry.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you.
So then part two of our discussion, garbage, is garbage stickers. So right now, if the garbage isn't put in a tote, it's not getting collected with exception of all. So if I have excess garbage and it doesn't fit in my 96-gallon tote, I have the option of purchasing a sticker. So $5 per 30-pound bag. The issue we have is what way would you like to have the stickers available to the public? It was amongst the department heads that we thought that these stickers should be available through the towns. It's not something that's, I asked Waste Management in their history, how often are these things demanded? Lancaster, Alden, and I know there's no one really on the point, we're all different. They did say that there's usually very low demand, because what will happen is if I have excess garbage, I'll take out the garbage that's not going to smell and put it up in next week's collection, or I get really knock on my neighbor's doors and ask if I can put it in their tote. So it's something that's options available for the person who doesn't have any friends in the neighborhood, and it's rare. It's rare. It's available if need be.
well, I was gonna ask the question, in your collective county wisdom, you charge have the village clerks and their town clerks. Provide that sticker. Have you asked them if they can do that?
Devin Kelly from the.
I'm not talking about,
No, we cannot ask them. No, that's why we're bringing it to you.
Those
Because-
postcards have it on there, but that, we didn't know, we didn't have a process yet, so you were getting calls on something that we didn't even know that
I
that
was
was
getting
happening.
calls, there was a.
Somebody was called.
Devin Kelly.
Yeah,
It was making the inquiry.
yeah, so,
And Devin didn't have an issue with selling these, it's like, well, his issue was, should there be an MOU or a contract?
It's not as clean as you think, because in many cases, the village clerks don't normally take in, revenue.
this would be town,
talking about, I know the same town. So they're asking the people in the villages to go to their town clerk or call them and have them. Okay, but we haven't even asked them whether or not they can do that, or whether willing to do that. Just assuming that we'll handle it just as we do marriage licenses and
Dog license.
dog licenses and hunting permits, and so on and so forth.
I mean, the tickets don't expire,
So, I mean, your idea was that we would buy them in blocks of 10.
Whatever you want, I mean, I don't think you're gonna use them, I think from the statistics that Pat Martino gave,
Sure.
you're gonna probably never gonna use them. I mean,
it's rare.
what did he say, like
6 out of 2,600.
6 out of 2,600 households in 2 years went out, and that
I
was.
don't have a revenue line in my, or an expenditure line in my town budget for garbage stickers.
It would be like a miscellaneous other. Miscellaneous
Under the
other.
town clerk,
I mean, you're talking less than $50 probably to buy
clerk's fees.
10.
Then it's remitted from the clerk to,
Pat Martino, you email him, so I was gonna send out an email earlier, and I'm like, okay, because I talked to Pat, asked him a million questions. Can I, do they expire? Are they different colors for different towns? Are they, how many is reasonable? How long does it take to get the stickers? Does it take 2 weeks or does it take a couple days? I shot a bunch of questions at him, I got a bunch of answers, and I was gonna send an email out to everybody and ask what they thought. And then I talked to Jim, I said, here's all the information, and we were gonna do that, but I mean, this was the other day. To me, it seems ludicrous for the county to buy some stickers and sit on it and then sell them to you still have to buy them from us and to the town. Because, I mean, like someone in our case doesn't want to drive all the way to Warsaw to get a $5 sticker. I mean, you're gonna want them in your town.
Just tape a $5 bill to the
That's
bank.
what I did. I
And
told her.
if you live in Warsaw, or if you work in Warsaw, you can buy it from the Warsaw town clerk.
And I've already heard from town clerks in general, and they wanted to know if there was an administrative fee that they could charge for this. And also, since now I understand that Warsaw cannot even opt in, or pay as a district fee for garbage pickup, I will not be getting garbage pickup, paying even, I'm not eligible. And we will be the ones hit more with that work.
With what? With the $5 fee?
With the stickers from people throughout the county, because this is a county seat.
And Becky's saying,
Our town, because we are open more than the other
that's
towns.
what I was gonna get to, you're gonna be probably one of the busier
Just call yourself
in the county.
waste management information.
And again, I can't benefit from the garbage pickup.
Can they buy them directly from Waste Management?
I would guess
I
not.
guess not, no.
I mean,
Pat doesn't want to.
He doesn't want to do a bunch of
It sounds to
emails.
me like we're getting some pushback to this proposal. I think in the interest of fairness, we ought to be soliciting input from the clerks about how they feel they can administer it. I have no problem with having a resident go to our clerk and have that issue about a sticker, but in the case of Warsaw, it's a little bit more complicated. And maybe the same is true for Perry. and-
so,
Maybe you could.
our clerks are 9 to 5, 5 days a week.
What's that?
Our clerks are 9 to 5, 5 days a week.
Yeah, my clerk only has maybe two, office hours, days a week, She's not there all the time.
Yeah, I understand a lot of
You
towns.
gotta go around.
Yeah.
So, drive all the way over to Kingsley Road,
To get your dog license.
just to get a dog license, yeah. Yeah,
Well, maybe.
I could have them available at the town hall and have my highways.
I was thinking that, I was thinking you could have, you don't, I mean, we're talking, how rare this is gonna happen. I mean, it's not gonna happen very often.
Janice, we haven't, this is another point that we just.
No, we haven't talked about yet, no.
Thought through.
I guess when we were talking about it before, right, this is why we're talking about it now. When we had talked about it, to us, it seemed ludicrous for us to say, okay, give us 50 stickers, pay waste management for 50 stickers, and then contact our towns and say, how many do you need? Because what, everybody asked us for more all at once, we were like, what?
Well, originally, I had thought that Don wanted them to come to the county building and codes office, to pick up their $5 sticker.
And that is an option, but
Well, that,
to me, it
I thought that
seems,
was the position he was advocating.
okay, I just don't want to have.
If you got extra garbage, just throw in the ditch.
That's exactly what's gonna happen.
What's that?
You're gonna find the garbage in the ditch.
Throw in the damn ditch somewhere.
All right.
Could spend days talking about this.
Just take it, like Jerry said, and we talked about it before, put the $5 on the bag, he'll take it.
I'm gonna give you the thought, you're not gonna wanna hear it.
Okay,
We've got Don Roberts, we've got Jim Gray, we've got Sarah Wood, we got Janice, we got Cheryl Ketchum, we got 5 of our employees spending hours in that, hundreds of hours on this project. That the town doesn't get a nickel out of it. We're paying for all this, we're getting nothing out of it, or what? You guys are fighting over little things. It's a waste of time. This is one reason I didn't get involved. Everybody spends about an hour.
well,
We got an hour to do it.
I
For
understand.
what?
Well, because we don't have a resolution to this. And it's, it's gonna happen. I agree with you. I mean, we should have had this conversation months and months ago.
It should have been years ago.
What if you do something like this? What if you just say that the towns that want to carry the stickers, they carry the stickers, and if anybody wants a sticker, then they can buy it from any town that wants to carry the stickers.
Chairman,
All right,
previously they had a maximum of 5 bags. So what does it do with, if they had 6 or 8 bags? It's probably going to be about the same thing. What did they do previously?
if I had it, I'd save it till the next week.
That's it. I don't know. The only problem you're gonna have, Jim, is on a lake in the fall. Some of these people got numerous bags of leaves. And I've been looking at that total. Some of them big plastic bags won't get in that total.
Well, I think in some cases, in the village of Warsaw, you have to buy bags for yard waste.
We get them from. We get it from, Ace Hardware and Walmart.
Right, but you have to have that separately, right? And who picks that up, the village?
The village fix it.
Okay,
Paper bags.
all right.
And you don't even have to bag it, they suck it out, they'll take it out.
Most people get those big
Okay,
plastic
so
bags.
if you want to opt into this, fine, opt in. I'll make your vote.
Okay.
All right. Anything else, right?
Just to let you know that starting on Monday, the first totes are set to arrive in Covington and it'll work its way counterclockwise through the county. And it'll finish in Perry, Cast House, Silver. That's what the fund will be. It's about 23,000 totes that will be delivered.
You have a complaint form that you're gonna have available?
Yeah, it's gonna be on our website, if and when we get some, a break, we wanna redesign our website so it's more, resident friendly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Carter, I think you're next, right? Or is it Pierce? Mr. Roberts. Oh, yes, okay. Mr. Roberts, you're up.
I think it was on the agenda still, or Mr. Becker.
Well, he's here for part of the discussion on the curbside collection, but I did not put him on the agenda per se.
You have something to say, Mr. Carter?
No, I do.
They're not waiting around there.
Thank you. Probably you all received my letter. That I sent out to the clerk, the chair,
Chairwoman and the entire board. And I'll apologize a little bit on that one because I kind of knee-jerked after I read the mandates that are coming out around this collection. And I messed up on a couple of things. There's a couple of wrong measurements in there, which are a big deal, are not a big deal. But I didn't include the safety factor, okay? And that's my concern, that's why I'm here today, all right? Back in, I don't know, we bought our property in Miami County back in '98. Somewhere between then and 2004, our town pike had a meeting. We weren't residents here yet as far as living here. They had a meeting about this original proposal of going to the county collection. I went to that meeting, I was fully in agreement with it. We didn't live here, okay? It was a recreational property. I brought my rubbish back to where I lived in Webster each time. But I was constantly picking up those black bags of rubbish dumped on Route 19 in the ditch on our property line and Murphy Road. And all of them back to Webster. So my feeling was, okay, we go to this plan, I'm gonna see a lot less of that. And that worked, okay, it worked well. We moved here in 2004, and I got my rubbish out to the road, but I loaded it on the tailgate of my truck, okay? Went out to the road. My letter says 120 feet, it's really 145. That's not a big difference. That was good until I had to have my knee replaced, and I'm thinking, well, during that period of time when I'm laid up, my wife can't lift stuff onto the tailgate of the truck. So I'm in the car, okay, and it's not pretty, but ever since then, you see it, this car, nice rubber wheels on it, inflated tires, got a swivel wheel on the back, got a nice sturdy handle. All the way to this way forward. Now, why am I bringing this up? Now I'm gonna go to these neat, pretty, they look a lot better than the car, I would say. So I'm gonna go to that in the future, right? Not at my request. So we're gonna go to that in the future. And that's not a big deal 6 months out of the year. Right? Not a big deal at all 6 months out of the year. In the summer, it's light outside. By the way, the mandate is I gotta have it out there by 6 o'clock in the morning. 50% of the year, at 6 o'clock in the morning, it's pitch black. I don't have a light that shines through my whole driveway. I don't want one. Okay, I'm not gonna put one in. So I gotta go out in pitch dark. I have some lights right around my garage. Under slippery conditions. That'll be between 5:30 and 6 in the morning because the pipe plows come through between 5 and 5:30. An excellent job keeping our road clean for the school buses and the workers to get down through, early in the morning. But guess what? There was a pile of snow like this sometimes. I happen to be, my fault where we live, there's a 50-acre plus field across the street from us to the south. Southerly west winds, we get a lot of drift. Our plows are down through a lot of times when there isn't snow outside, but the wind is blowing the snow across. So here I am now. With this card I have, because it's way forward, I got a nice handle. I can steady myself walking out in the ice and the snow ruts and everything else, right? But now I got that, right? So with the card, if my foot slips a little or I'm catching on a rut, I can catch myself, right? With that, what am I gonna do? I go from this to now I gotta tilt this thing up and walk it out. If I slip, I have no recovery. Right? Now I'm not a wimp and I'm not feeble, but a little sidebar. When I took an early retirement from Eastern Kodak to start my consulting business, the actuary said I'd be belly up by age 75. Okay, that's what they said for figuring out my retirement. Okay, I'm 7 years beyond the expiration date, so I'll let you do the math. Okay, I'm in pretty good shape. But arthritis throughout my body. I don't have the muscle mass. And quite frankly, I don't have the balance six yet. I've got a problem. I've got a safety problem. I think I'm not the sharpest pencil in the room here. I'm not the dumbest either. And I've figured out ways to compensate for things I have to do now because of my age. I can't figure out a way to compensate to get that damn thing out the road safely. Right?
under conditions. Dry pavement, I'm not proud. I don't know how to do it. And then I look at some of my neighbors, some of them are 100 yards off the road, gravel driveways. How are they gonna come up? And just for a quick aside, it was mentioned here, and I wasn't gonna get into the $5 sticker thing, okay? But remember what I said about why I was in favor to begin with? People didn't want to pay for the rubbish pickup. Why are we still finding tires on outside? People don't want to pay for recycling. Do you think those people are going to buy that $5 sticker? No. No, they're not. They're going to dump. Okay, I'll be picking it up again and pay the $5, I guess. And by the way, our town clerk only works a half day a week, and she won't sell hunting and fishing licenses. I think I'll be traveling to Warsaw after buy stickers. I also twice a year go out and clean up along Route 19, along Murphy Road. I usually end up with 1 to 2 of those bags. They're not gonna fit in that trash bag, so I'm gonna buy $5 stickers to keep my neighborhood. I understand, I had a good conversation with Don, I understand the rationale behind it, and I do understand automation, okay? That's part of what I made a living at all my life, is helping companies. It was mostly through computer automation, but helping firms automate their production lines and clerical process. I understand that, and I'm not afraid of technology. All I'm saying to this group is, I don't have an answer. Somebody's got to tell me how I'm going to do this. I'm doing safe. That's where I'm at. And I don't see how this is going to and I don't want to be. Oh, those of you that know me, know I've been before the board probably 5 times over the last 15 years, from groups of people. I've never come in with a problem. I've always been to say, here's something we've got backing with it, something that needs to be changed, and you come to the rationale behind that change, and have business discussion, and for the most part, I think for every part, we've always agreed and we moved on. But this one, I'm just coming because I can't come up with an alternative. And I don't think I'm the only one. God forbid, 2 or 3 years down the road, that this other knee starts to go and I have to walk with a cane. I'm going to balance one of those things and walk it out with a cane. We must have other elderly people, or disabled people in the county. And I don't know how to deal with it. This is the first time I've ever been this frustrated with situations. I've always found where it was. I don't have a workaround here. I can't load it on the tailgate of my truck. Do not have a workaround. That's where I'm at, folks. That's why I want to talk. I'm not sure what we should do. Obviously, you're not going to avoid the contract. And as Don said, when we talk, yeah, we're not going to get away from automation for the future. But it doesn't help those who live in rural areas. Towns, yeah. Hell, my nearest neighbor is a quarter of a mile away and they're reclusive. Okay. And I couldn't call my neighbor every week and say, okay, come by the way, shovel up down by the driveway there, because that's the other part of it. When I have to have the space, in the summertime, I can put them on my lawn, okay? In the wintertime, I can't, so I'm gonna shovel out spacing on my lawn so I can meet the requirements. And I do, when I research it, I understand now why they need 3 feet. I actually watched a little YouTube movie of how, how those arms and everything else. So I can understand. So I understand everything about it and why we're doing it. What I don't understand is how the hell I comply. That's the bottom line. So any questions for me on that? Thank you.
Mr. Becker.
Most of us have a similar issue. Got to deal with it, but overall, these coats are a plus for us. People leave garbage out 2, 3, 4 days ahead of time. I'm not going to go and pick it up. When the crows open it up, or a raccoon tears the bags apart. I see it every day around Silver Lake. There's some issues around Silver Lake, exactly what this man's got. You get a neighbor, you get somebody. A lot of these people don't have a bag a week, so you only have to put it out every 2nd or 3rd week. Personally, I don't half use it. I can put my garbage out once a month. That's about all I have.
Well, Joe, I know from personal experience exactly what Mr. Becker is saying. Because when the town of Lancaster went to conversion to these totes, my 96-year-old mother-in-law, a year ago in the winter, was attempting to pull the tote out of the garage to get out to the road. And it's only 40 feet. Slipped on the ice, went down, and of course, when you're 96, just getting yourself back up on your feet is a problem. Her knee as a result. And so I understand completely how difficult it is to move those things around.
Well, that's understandable. Like I said, most every town is gonna have similar issues. And somehow we're gonna find a way to do it.
Yeah.
Or they do.
Okay. Moving on. First things first, right, your monthly report. It's good to meet.
Yeah, it'll be short.
So my report, things going a little long, but so far, we're up to $19,000 in revenue, takes us through the month of February so far. So we're right now for the first of the year is around $3,500, so just that's one. On that. And we compare also we tested the munis, we tested that. Just make sure where the totals are at.
So there was some question last month whether this is complete or not. The answer.
Well, I worked with Lisa, so I was.
That's the whole year last year.
Last year.
Yeah, so that was, yeah, I mean, that's before.
Since February 2022. Yeah.
When you look at the munis report, that was for, where we ended up with in 2021. If you look on page 2 down at the bottom for revenue versus expenses, you'll see that we were started out with a budget of 169.43. We ended up with an available budget of 144 at the end of the year. So we okay at the expenses. So the numbers where we changed when we went to the new the fee schedule, what we're charging municipalities, we ended up right about what we needed to do. We came just a little bit in underneath where we were gonna anticipated revenue, we were only about 4,000 short of our anticipated mark. We did lose 2 of the municipalities at the beginning of the year, so we were a little short on the revenue from the municipalities paying and get short on some of the tax persons. Overall, we did pretty well for wanted to be at the end of the year. Okay. So that took us into a couple of little highlights too for what we wanted to look at the annual report on where we were at the end of the year, together with the on that. The highlighting word for that, we did lose 2 municipalities. So we're a little short on the overall revenue for that program. But overall, because our expenditures were low, that was due to not having our second full-time zoning official on board at that moment in time. So we were able to see some cost savings there. So we ended up pretty close to where our target numbers were at the end of the year. We're not raising or suggesting to raise any cost in prices to municipalities at this point in time.
So your 22 zoning budget, you're down 3,000 persons.
Yes.
So how are you gonna make up that extra revenue?
Well, we're hoping it's going to be made up of the permit fees because we did a fee schedule adjustment last year too, which is reflected in the revenue. So.
If I'm reading this correctly, which we will vote on here on number 4, right? You are not proposing an increase in the per parcel rate. Correct. So despite the fact that you went from 15,725 parcels down to 12,277 parcels, your per parcel rate will remain the same. Right. From 21 to 22.
That's right, that was perfect, right?
That's a valid question.
$20,000, right?
So your expenditures then are from what? Reduced expenditures? Or not?
And your end result from 21, the expenditure to that, we're not proposing on reducing any expenditures for 22.
But you're hoping to make up the difference in fee, fees.
Because of the fee schedule adjustment we did last year, we didn't do at the beginning of the year.
Okay,
But you're expecting, your total revenue, you're only at 35,000.
That's the anticipated revenue, yes.
And last year you were a little short. You're about 33,000 in revenues.
Right, correct.
but you had put 20, you had put the same 35,000 last year. You only made 33. You're putting 35 for this year. Okay. And the levy increase.
The adopted levy for zoning is 60,806. That's what you guys approved, 60,806.
So he has here
100,000.
100, yeah, 105, 35, 32. 75%.
So 60, yeah, so 69,000.
So I'm looking here, countywide zoning, 169. He has in his budget, 108,000 as his total revenue. But he took that out, and he's doing 75% of the levy, which. So the parcel rate is 591 in 2020. That's not what you were charging in 2021. You weren't charging 591, it was 272.
That's what we approved.
I know,
We went from 272 to 591
that's not what you charged
last year.
last year.
Yes.
I just pulled that out and I just emailed that because there was a question about arcade, because the counts are off. So,
Sure. Parcel.
yeah, so they say they were billing for 2020, it's good, I know. So we gave a credit for 2021. 2020 is 272.
272.
Okay, so that one's off a little from 2020.
It's 1,000 parcels.
I know. I haven't seen it. But I can tell you what you adopted. I mean,
For this year?
yeah, I mean, you adopted a levy of 60,806, so however those numbers shake out, that's what you adopted.
Okay. So this doesn't match.
That doesn't include, so if you add theoretically, this is the first time I'm looking at this, so I think what he's saying is if you add the 72.5 plus the 335,
Get to the 100.
no. He's taking, no. The 72 plus it'd be more than that. It'd be the 106 that then it was adopted. 108, 237, and he's probably gonna do a little revenue in there.
I mean, on the revenue, how can we amend the resolution from last year's 2024 or 51? We don't have the understanding of
Honestly, I don't think that you are amending a resolution. I think that you're gonna adopt a new, I know what it says, Dan, but
Okay.
I'm telling you that you need to do because if that resolution is for 2020.
2022.
20-451, what does it say?
That was on 2021.
Okay,
That one should be,
that is done, hold on,
that changed the.
that is done and over.
Of course, but we're.
You gotta plug in.
I gotta plug in, I'm telling
I wanna see the numbers.
Yes.
I'm working on these too, I don't know. I still got 77%.
Because that's.
Every jitter and
you. Do it, you have
So then you
charge.
charge it, there's a bunch of things going on, and what I would
I got
suggest is that
77%.
this just get tabled.
I'm still working.
Got it.
every
Okay, you would table this till next month. Okay, good. And by that time, I would hope that we have a solid understanding of how much we're gonna be charging.
Yeah.
Right?
It was in, because the resolution, the current resolution that was done, we wrote it as amended. So we rescinded the original resolution because we changed the rate then to 591. So we rescinded the original resolution, and then the latest and greatest one expired December 31st.
Understand,
So we got
sure. But Supervisor Kale brought up a very valid point. You know, you've got fewer parcels, yet you're charging the same rate. How do you do that? If your expenses are going to be the same or more,
I understand that.
then your rate has to be. So until we resolve that question, Brian, does that satisfy you? We'll table this.
So, where the extra money is gonna come from.
Exactly. And we technically use, I don't know, that's a.
Well, we got other parcels that makes you wonder if you didn't make the budget last year. But even though the fees went up, it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell without statistics.
Okay,
And technically, then we go over our budget. I mean, when we did take 35,000, there's a couple grand there. So technically, we didn't cover the zoning budget with this budget. Some extra money, more than 25% came out of the county level. Is what I know.
Yeah.
We agreed to give 25% to cover, to subsidize the program, but the program didn't even get to that 75% of paying the budget.
but the town should know what they're gonna be paying.
Because you.
But yeah, but now with some village, whatever it was, Village Cast Island, Silver Springs or something jumped out. That's what it's from the store.
Silver Springs is still in.
There was a couple of villages that dropped out.
Yes. Okay, thank you. All right, we're gonna table it. Thank you. Sorry.
Or issues.
It's just so we know we already go in the first quarter, so it might be adjusted.
Yeah.
Anything else? Okay, thank you. Gardner. You're up. Okay, before we leave, you've got in your packet, and I included this 2021 annual report and mission statement and future growth, so I'll just reference that. Sir. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
I had asked Scott to come and talk to us about, given the recent events at the Chamber of Commerce, the issues there, come and talk about what the chamber has done to implement new financial controls.
Does it have to be executive or is it just? Does it need to be executive or is it just?
You know, I got to hear it. We'll discuss this in more detail.
You should have, yeah, so. we can discuss it.
Okay, so he's handing out a letter, that he wrote to.
Let me describe it.
Yes, please.
Sure, so I asked the treasurer and CPA and Whole Light to draft a letter to you rather than bringing you here to talk about what her analysis of the finances looked like prior to filing the complaint with the police department. We had to go back to beyond the period that was in question in 2018. We went back testing those to see if we could find any other areas where there was some funds. We did not, which is what set us back in 2018, so we could move forward and get correct information, which is what we gave to law enforcement. This sets that forward, so you can have a statement of what was done. And it also, part of it is some of her reassurance that tourism funds are not impacted in the general operation. So that's what this statement testament to. We thought that would be important for you to have. The other documents, a couple things that are put in there are the new financial control policy that the chamber has adopted. The board of directors met on March 9th at its regular meeting and spent a great deal of time coming up with additions and supplementations to financial control policy that we had in place, and put in a number of measures that will prevent this, hopefully, you would think, from ever happening in the future. Although even looking through this, I was thinking, no system I imagine is perfect, but this one is going to get us as close as we can be. It just talks about, I don't know how familiar our financial control policies, but this one is pretty specific to us, and it talks about the process for receiving literally mail, right down to how we do cash disbursements and expenses. It has a number of checks and balances in it that are extra. We added double signatures to all our checks, added a completely new member management system that requires now invoices and memberships and incoming money goes against it. And one of the problems, I don't want to get too far afield of what happened, is our member management system and our bookkeeping system were not the same. And so there were areas where it was open to fraud, etc. that you could do. As we looked through it, you could see there were areas where that happened. So we updated the system. It connects with our QuickBooks now. Everything is pretty tight as far as receiving and sending. So really, this is for you. I don't know. I mean, there's quite a bit here. I mean, I gave you everything because it's the total policy, so you can test payroll and things like that.
Well, I felt that it was important because the chamber receives funding from the county, even though it's dedicated to the tourism part of business. You still present county funding, and to make sure that you have any additional controls in place to reconcile those funds, even your general account moving forward.
Right, so these will impact all accounts. Those accounts actually have some additional measures to them that even the general operations account do not have because of the reporting that takes place in New York State. So there, like I said, there is a segregation of the accounting already, and that was in place, which is why most likely it wasn't affected. But there's an additional accounting that's required under the matching fund program that we had to do, continue to do. We've actually added a couple of measures in even with that. There's a couple of extra double checks that will be included.
And the fact that you're doing the reconciliations on a monthly basis for your receipts and so on.
Well, we were, and we're doing it differently now moving forward. So the executive also reviewing it every month, the treasurer reviewing it every month, the board of directors will also see it at different intervals during the year. So there will be multiple checks on all of these funds or financials. So that if there was some inconsistency or something, it shouldn't much. Okay.
I think, it's important that the community be reassured, and the county be reassured, and the taxpayers be reassured that, those controls have now been reinforced
Yes.
within the chief.
And it was, I'm proud of the board of directors for the amount of time they took to do it. I mean, we didn't just put it in front of them. They probably the longest meetings we've ever had, and they went through it. And we had bankers, legal people, and insurance people at the table, because we wanted to make sure that, if we ever wanted to get dishonest employee policies as a writer, we have to have these in place.
Yes.
So to make us insurable, we have to have it. So we went through that with our insurance agent too.
Okay.
But I thought it was important that you have them, you can take a look at them. These are approved by the board, and then the letter is specifically written to you and the committee. Just to give you some, I think, better sense of the level thoroughness that she went through to getting this information. And we had to, because we couldn't make a complaint formally and the seriousness of it without the thoroughness. We had to substantiate, and that's how we found the level of things that we found. As I was on check workers, things like that. So and we took a lot of, I won't get into all, but we took a lot of immediate steps for bank accounts and active insurance companies. We did a lot of immediate things now. Forward our accounts back up after we realized accounted for every check, we knew everything where it was, we knew, what had happened. So.
And I think when you and I spoke, you also indicated that you had reached out to every member.
There was a letter, I included a letter that was sent to every member of the chamber as well. That's that one. Okay. So every member of the chambers received that, and any member that has questions is also more involved. Active short. Organizations.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? I don't hear what's got. Oh.
Okay, you sure? Yeah, position.
Yeah, just a quick update. We've already appropriated the funding. We were just discussing, and Cheryl and I talked about updating the contract.
Yeah, it's on Jen's desk to do by the end of the year. She's just been super busy, so. We did, yep.
Yeah, we were just talking about the way that it was initially structured is right out of the gate reimbursable, which would call for fund up front. Something with money going first at least, and then if you want to reimburse after the fact, after it's going. Normally appropriations made right up front, so.
I have had several conversations with Scott and with Jennifer, and we've scrambled together some wording that we want Jen to take a peek at, and then incorporate it into the agreement.
So they're like 4 quarterly payments.
Yeah, share a 4 quarter, so we'll pay up front, and then we'll reconcile back to each quarter before we release the next set of funding.
Okay.
Yeah,
But quarterly.
quarterly.
That gets us started and then sort of kind of go back.
And if the agreement ever is severed or expires for whatever reason, then we'll reconcile back. The potential for the chamber to owe the county some money may exist.
You have a lot of body.
No live bodies yet. I want to make sure this is in place before we also have, there's people in mind, some of the pushback I've even gotten from just talking to people with the offering, so. But we'll see. I'm gonna put it out there first, really put it out there, see what we get. We gotta some due diligence when we try, and then and we'll come back and talk to you.
Okay. Questions on the receptionist? Good. Eric, did you want to
Here's something to
talk about tourism?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
We're not talking about garbage and stuff. Although I do have a question, what's gonna happen on, I live on a cul-de-sac, and how they're gonna put the truck down and take it back out and get my garbage, I'm not sure, so.
Excuse me,
You're gonna have to wheel it to your
You're gonna
knees.
be, you're gonna be on that street that they don't go down.
Probably.
I was gonna say, from a tourism standpoint, we very much appreciate making all of our communities clean and picking up garbage and making it a beautiful, you know,
I think
very
you're gonna
beautiful.
turn around in your driveway.
So, very much appreciate all the work that everyone's doing. I know this is a very complicated topic for sure. So, good afternoon. I just wanted to really come two things. The first on the agenda, we're talking about Travel and Tourism Week, getting proclaimed. It's May 1st through the 2nd, or I'm sorry, 1st through the 7th of 2022. And we proclaim this each and every year. It's an opportunity to celebrate our tourism businesses, especially now as we're really kind of coming out of the pandemic. The recreation and tourism industry was most certainly the hardest hit. So this is an opportunity for us to talk about how important they are for our community, how important they are for Wyoming County, for the state, and for the country. Some of the things that are in the proclamation, you know, we do talk about how travelers spend over $40 million in Wyoming County. And really through the pandemic, we were a very important place for people to visit, to get out of Buffalo and Rochester, to get outdoors, to explore, and to enjoy some fresh air. So we played a very important role in the pandemic for people to really explore and so they just weren't stuck inside. So hopefully looking to get Travel and Tourism Week proclaimed, which once again is May 1st through the 7th of 2022. And of course, any questions?
Okay, so I have a motion by Supervisor Kale to move this. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Appreciate that. And then if I could just give a couple quick tourism updates. Not about garbage. Zero garbage. Real quick, so the 2022 Wyoming County Travel Guide, we're in the process of finalizing. It has been sent to the printer. So we're hoping to have that in April. So we'll get that out to our distributors and into Letchworth and sharing with all of the people who requested for us to send a copy through the mail. So that is obviously the singular publication of all the things that people can do and explore when they want to visit Wyoming County. Once again, Letchworth is the lead on that because you lead with the thing that most people are very much interested in. So that graces our cover, and we have a whole section about that. And they newly opened Osceola Nature Trail, which has a very big spread focus in that. So that's going to be done in April. Also, we are working through the destination assessment we're doing with Josiah Brown. He's the consultant we brought in to help us in partnership with Jim Pierce and Company to take a look at Wyoming County from an economic development and tourism standpoint. I know, Dan, you had the opportunity to speak with him. He was in a couple weeks ago and just talked to stakeholders. Mr. Bragg also had a chance to actually talk to him. Speak with stakeholders about sort of the state of the county, sort of like a SWOT analysis, the strengths, the threats, the opportunities, the weaknesses. He also was able to visit at the Arcade Medical Railroad and Hidden Valley Animal Adventure, so a couple of our main attractions. I spent time with him, Jim spent time with him. So we're kind of in the process now where he's gotten that data done, and now he's going to start to build an initial draft report for us. So we will be having a conversation with him probably in the near future, where he'll sit down with us to do sort of a breakdown of what he's thinking, where he's at, before he comes before all of you, the Board of Supervisors, to talk about what his findings are. So that process is continuing to move along. And then two projects that we've been really involved with since probably I've last talked, two major events and two partnerships. We did two collaborations. One was with the Arcade Winter Fest group. We did a social media campaign collaboration with them. And then most recently, we did a very large partnership with the Fort Maple Weekends in Wyoming County. So that's a statewide initiative, but Wyoming County has such a concentration of maple producers that we've sort of branded as Wyoming County Maple Weekends, because this year I believe we had 13 different locations that were participating. And so we did really a full-scale media blitz. We did a lot of social media promotion. We released a press release. I was on the radio talking about it multiple occasions. So the partnership that we had with the Wyoming County Maple Association was really fantastic. And I think we've reached a ton of people. Just looking at some of the statistics, through our social media engagement campaign and some of the analytics, 200,000 people saw our promotions through Facebook. We reached over 116 unique individuals, 12,000 shares, comments, likes. Like I said, we were on CJW doing multiple live sessions. And also our press release was picked up by the Batavia Daily, the Warsaw Country Courier, and then one of the news reporters from actually Channel 7 out of Buffalo picked up the news release, and they were in the area and did some social media posts about it, just promoting the weekend. So a very successful partnership all the way around. So just some of the stuff we've been working on. I'll give you a quick update.
Did you receive any feedback from the producers?
Yes, so some of the producers so I went out both weekends and took a lot of photos, did a lot of just organic promotion on social media, and they were very, very happy with the amount of people that came out. It was a little slower the second weekend, but we also had that storm, so I think that kind of kept people a little bit at bay. But certainly the first weekend, the turnout was, the producers were very pleased. One of the producers specifically said that they broke all kinds of records. They did the pancake breakfast, and they broke all kinds of records as far as attendance and everything else. So the feedback was very, very positive.
Did you test the syrup?
I did test the syrup at all locations.
Did you learn how to make jackrabbits, or did you already know how to do that?
To make what?
Oh, please.
Jackrabbits.
Maple weekend, you don't know about jackrabbits?
I you know what? I've heard of it. I did not know how to make it.
Anybody? Jam, good, huh? You know jackrabbits, right? You should. We did too when we were kids.
I was
Snow?
far too busy doing shots of maple syrup.
Real fresh snow.
Any pancakes, so.
Real snow.
Real snow. Real snow. That's the way to make it. That's right.
Yeah, you test.
There's nothing like the first taste that's coming out of the evaporator that's still hot, you know?
And then one of the pancake breakfasts, they just put the maple syrup, it was still warm, and it was.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, wonderful.
Better on snow.
All right,
Thank you so much.
thank you. All right, Mr. Pierce.
Another tree, that's it.
Boil it till it's almost candy. So, and then
There's the crystal.
thicker.
Thank you.
I'm lighter.
Very the old things. Jim, you have Brian's address for me for when we do a resolution.
Okay, first item is recommendation, is it Brian or Brianna? Brianna Stone replaced Jeremy Satchel, who resigned with regret on the Wyoming County Business Center Board, complete the remainder of his term through May of 2024.
Yeah, Jeremy was a very good board member. Dan and both Jim Brick, who are board members on the Business Center, recognize his value to us on the board, especially as it was related to any sort of financial loans and things that we were working on. So the thinking was that we should try to come up with a name for the board to consider that was from a banking background. And a conversation that Dan and I had, we talked about having maybe Brian Stone, who was the branch manager for the Tompkins Community Bank down here in Warsaw, to serve on the board and fill out Jeremy's term. I did approach her about that, and she is agreeable to that if the board chooses to appoint her.
Need a motion? I'll make the motion.
So I have a motion from Ms. McCormick. Further discussion? All in favor? Done. Okay. All right. So now you're gonna moderate. When do you speech you be starting?
At our next meeting.
Okay. All right, next item is the annual report.
Yes, every year, the business center is required to present to the planning committee the annual report. For those of you who are not familiar with the business center, it is a local development corporation where Wyoming County is the sole member of the organization. So this is an LLC that actually belongs to the county. It does not have any employees, and it's administered wholly by the staff of the IDA. The IDA actually provides, charges business center $20,000 for its complete administration every year, which is a real bargain. So, because I have one staff person actually that works full-time on programs for the business center. So technically, the IDA is actually helping subsidize this organization greatly. So the board just met last week and we presented the annual report, which Scott graciously distributed. On page 4, I'm not going to read any of the intro stuff. You can read that if you choose. So, we jump in with the fast track program. I think this past year we kept the program going, despite the issues with the pandemic. We did pick up another sponsor for the fast track program that you can see there in bold, which was 5-star. Robert Strassel is an attorney here in Warsaw. He's also a guest speaker. When he comes in to speak for the class, we call that free lawyer night. So all the participants get free legal advice for 1 minute. So the program continues on. We are now moving into our 12th year with the class which started yesterday. On page 5 is a picture of the graduates from the spring session that we did in 2021. You can see the types of businesses that went through the program. The boutique lodging, domestic violence shelter, premium chocolate house, clothing boutique, custom graphic design, and a residential painter. That residential painter is a very ambitious young lady who lives over Silver Lake. So if anybody has any interior or exterior painting that needs to be done, I would give a strong recommendation for her. She's a very hard worker. So the program is 10 weeks long. We bring in guest speakers, as everyone knows. They come in with their business concept, and then we help them through the use of facilitators develop a full-fledged business plan. And in the 10th week, they provide an executive summary of their business plan. And then if they need financing, we have the ability to help them with some startup financing, which you'll see in a minute. There's also the picture from the fall class that we had. You can see the types of businesses that are being considered from that class. A lot of these pictures that you'll see on here, you'll see like, for example, Justin Britton on the bottom of page 6, JD Contracting. That band circles it all the way around Warsaw all the time. And now there's like 2 or 3 of them. So he went through the class and the business has grown tremendously. We often bring him back because he was such a great success to talk to the new students coming in about his experience and how he's been able to grow the business. On page 7, for the first time, we had made a full scholarship available to a high school student who took full advantage of that. That's Jan Parker. If anybody knows Amanda Parker from Perry, that's her son. He did a really good job with the program and he got a lot out of it. We also thought it'd be important to show some of the successes through the alumni groups that we have. You can see the ribbon cutting ceremony that the chamber assisted for Butts Accounting, which is in the Creekside shop at former Zeech's building. Page 8, we have Ryan Blazak, who won the Chamber's Award for New Business of the Year. Brianna is a tremendous entrepreneur. She's very passionate and excited
And I think we're gonna see some great things from her yet to come, so we're excited to see that. Then we thought we'd show you on the bottom page 8, that one of our graphic design companies that went through the program, who lives in Attica, got the job of putting up some new vinyl graphics on the Prospector restaurant in Attica as well. On page 9, for, I don't know, for 20-some years plus that I've been here in Wyoming County, one of the challenges that we've always had with our small business community is the need for technical assistance. Businesses get started, they get to a certain level, and they get stuck. They don't know exactly how to go up to that next level of growth. So we were very fortunate to work with Community Action to get some CARES money from the CARES Act to put in a technical assistance program that we call the Business Accelerator Academy. It's a program that is a in-person, face-to-face for 4 consecutive weeks. It's facilitated by the same people that teach our Fast Track program. We bring in 4 existing businesses in a group. They come in, they identify what their problem is, and then collectively they work on proposed solution. We'll get this business up to a next level of growth, whether it be diversifying or looking at new markets or whatever it may be. The program's been extremely successful. We've had 2 groups go through it already. The next session is going to start next week. Some of the faces that you see in the pictures, even somebody like Sandy Purdy, for example, on the bottom of page 9 from Creekside Fabrics, who's been in business 17 years, got great value out of the program as well. On page 10 is a picture of some of the participants going through the program. In addition to the Business Accelerator Academy program that we put in place, we also saw a need for one-on-one individual mentoring with certain businesses that didn't want to participate in a group environment. So we have been able to secure some local grant dollars coming from the Wyoming Foundation, Key Bank, and other. We leveraged some grant dollars to pay for 8 hours of free business counseling to a business consultant to sit one-on-one with a business that wanted that special handholding. That program is still ongoing. The grant funds might be disappearing, but we're finding enough value from that to probably try to continue that to fund that with existing funds. So that program has been very successful. The micro loan program on page 11, you can see a list of our portfolio of who has loans that are still outstanding. We did grant 2 more loans during the year, Max's Bakery and Perry, which is a project that's not moving forward. And we also provided funding for the Silver Lake Ventures LLC, which is the Shenanigans restaurant right here in Warsaw. Did have 3 loans that were paid off during the year that you can see there as well. One of the things that we started during the pandemic on page 12 was a program called the Restart Loan Program, where people could borrow up to $10,000 to either increase their inventory, to diversify their market or their business as a way of offering products and services. We had, you can see the list of businesses that took advantage of that. Almost all of them took the $10,000 maximum. That's been a very good program for us. The board has provided us with guidance to continue that program. We did set aside $200,000, so we do have some funds left for that. So you can tell people about that. It's a really attractive loan program from an interest standpoint. So for the first year, the first 6 months, you're not paying any principal or interest, and then it kind of scales up over time to a maximum interest rate of 2%. Page 13, the Business Center is still responsible for doing business attraction marketing. I sit on the board of directors of Invest Buffalo Niagara and get a seat at the table for the regional economic development marketing that they do. They provide us with business leads that we submit sites here in Wyoming County for. We also have increased the visits to our website, which has probably been one of the most key things for our business attraction here locally. We get a lot of hits from that. We just wanted to make note here of one of the more successful marketing stories that we had, which was a direct mail postcard a couple of years ago to hotel owners within 100 to 150-mile radius of Warsaw when we were trying to attract a hotel here in the town or in the village. That co-star of the successful hotel landed on the desk of Jack Meta and Rochester. He picked up the phone one day and called me and says, "I've always wanted to build a hotel in Warsaw." And then subsequently, the village put in for a restore grant, which helped take down the old nursing home. And so some of the money went towards that. We had a really nice ceremony, as you can see, helping the demo of the old building. And then on page 14, we finally got around after the pandemic to do the ribbon cutting ceremony. And you can see the finished product there, but they've done pretty well despite the downturn in travelers. Under the industry real estate development strategy section, one of the issues we have in Miami County, we do not have any vacant industrial buildings. Most businesses that are looking for a new location, whether they be existing or from outside the area, want to move into an existing building. We do not have any. Everything is filled. So the same issue is goes throughout Western New York. So as a seat on the board for Invest Buffalo Niagara, I lobbied hard for us to, as a region, look at what we can do to get some buildings popped up here, because that's really key for us from an economic development standpoint. They embarked on a $250,000 study. They formed a special committee, which I'm on and still am on today. And we're working on coming up with some implementations, strategies for addressing some of the issues that we have in regard to the shortage of buildings. So that's an important piece for us as well. Business Center is also responsible for workforce development items. I sit on the board of directors of Workforce Development Board and have for many, many years. Some of the initiatives that you may be aware of that we're working on is the Glow with Your Hands event, which is held at the fairgrounds in Genesee County. This past year was our third year. The first year was the most successful because that was pre-pandemic. The other two were kind of virtual and kind of a hybrid. This year, it's going to be all in person. We're anticipating 1,000 students from over 32 school districts in the region to be here for the event. We have vendors and exhibitors from all over the Glow area that allow kids to get hands-on participation in some of the careers that are available here locally. We have, I think, we're just starting to register some of the vendors early on, but we have Advanced Rubber from Danstown that's going to be there. We have Prestolite over in Arcade, as well as Wiki Aronson, in terms of some of our manufacturers that participate and are very good at that. So it's a great event, and hopefully if you have students or grandkids in school, encourage them to sign up for that. It's going to be on September 27th.
I think we discussed it in the meeting. We could attempt to have a focus also on the healthcare. We're going to do a separate program for the healthcare, so a separate program to get high school kids interested in the healthcare field. Since we have such a high demand for those positions within the county, it might be useful to get high school students into an environment where they can actually see, what's being done in that environment. So that would be an excellent focus for workforce development.
I think they're a great training program too, as far as like from CNAs, but person goes to work their way up and better themselves in their profession. It's a great.
I mean, the old timers, we used to have our own nursing school right here in the county, so we need more people entering into the healthcare field.
The last item, Mr. Chairman, is the responsibility of the Business Center to work on environmentally challenged development sites. As this board knows, we've talked about this in the past, but The business center is the lead entity on trying to get the MK site over in Arcade cleaned up. We formed a separate LLC affiliate under the business center, which doesn't have any assets to protect the assets of the business center. And we have moved into a position of ownership of the site. 2 weeks ago, we just took another partial on that the county had foreclosed on and it transferred to the business center that actually adjoins this site. So this original site, which you see in the photo, is about 10.5 acres, but now we've added another 5.1 acres, so it's a total of 15 acres. We have partnered with Labella Associates. We know it's a brownfield. We've done all the environmental assessments. There's petroleum buried there. There's asbestos scattered throughout the site. Don Roberts and I have a long history and knowledge about what happened over there. And now we're just trying to make things right. One of the key things that we've done is we've solicited for a brownfield developer to partner with us on this project. Once we get to a point where we can get it remediated, where they can step in and do the redevelopment, get it into the state brownfield cleanup program. But what we did last September was we made application to the EPA for a brownfield cleanup grant of $500,000. Those awards are expected to be made next month or the following month. If we get that, we can begin taking some steps to do some demolition and remediation over there. So we're excited about that. The developer we have is now under contract with a designated developer agreement. The grant requires a 20% match, so the business center board authorized need to provide $50,000 as part of that match, and the developer is going to be matching $50,000 as well. So we have the pieces in place, hopefully get that grant and get it implemented. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I will stop and take any questions if there are any. But it was a very busy year for the business center, and the board only meets when we need to. We make some, had some action items, so I think, what do we meet, Dan and Jim, about 4 times? Did you meet last year? Something like that. So, a lot of work done between the meetings.
Thank you very much. I have any questions for you?
Questions. And Pete, about in your micro loan program. I'm not familiar with the name of the old opera house in Attica. Yeah, I'm here, or what's the story of that?
The Opera House was financed through the Business Assistance Corporation, which is a local development corporation under the IDA. The IDA is not allowed to do loans, so we formed a separate LDC for the IDA. So the loan was done through what we call a Business Assistance Corporation. We got contacted by the owner. You know all the sad history, Brian, about the wall falling down and all.
So where do we stand with this?
The borrower paid us off in full. So we had a mortgage of about $96,000. His insurance didn't make him whole after the damage caused by the windstorm. So we were worried that we might end up with the IDA Opera House. But we were fortunate enough in our hindsight that when we did the loan, we took 2 separate mortgages on 2 residents that he owned. And subsequently, he sold one of the residents to kind of help alleviate some of his problems. So he took that money and he paid off his loan.
So do you know if you know anything more? Those have been going on there for months.
Yeah, I mean, there is some local interest, and I won't name any names, but that are looking to save that building and to at least do an assessment structurally of it and see what it's going to take to get it to redevelop. But it's a beautiful building. It's probably one of my favorite buildings from an architectural standpoint in the whole county, and I'd like to see it saved as well. So we've been working with the leadership party.
So Don, you had declared it unsafe, right? After the.
We got some permitting issues on that building, so. But working with, like Jim says, some interested parties on the building and what the needs assessment needs to happen to figure out whether or not they want to move ahead with such a project, we'll wait and see. If anybody wants to make some speculative investments, I can get you hooked up with the people. Yeah.
That's why it's money.
All right,
And then my second question, I know I'm gonna sound like a broken record to you, Jim, but your industrial real estate development strategy, you said we have no buildings and whatnot. Are we working on, or is the idea working on anything as far as industrial parks or business parks? I mean, I just got the mail here a couple weeks ago. Jefferson County's at 7.
Yeah.
Parks working, they're all being run by the NDA, to my knowledge, and I'm wondering why we aren't getting involved in that. We're getting a third yogurt plant, and we struck out getting a cheese factory in here from Allegheny County, and I've asked this question before. We make the milk here. I don't know why we're not taking care of infrastructure.
right, we can sound a broken record here, the answer is infrastructure, gotta have water, sewer.
Seven projects going to Genesee County.
Yeah, but they're all in areas that they have infrastructure.
And close to the expressways.
Just for the record, Brian, I did have a discussion with both Great Lakes Cheese as well as the French yogurt company. So I was making a pitch and making a run for those, but as Dan said, it comes down to, can you meet the needs of this entity? And quite frankly, we could. In terms of industrial sites, we do own 3. The IDA owns 3 of them, 2 of them in Arcade and 1 in Perry. And I think the board would not be adverse at looking at other properties if the board of supervisors has some recommendations. I think what's going to happen with the state budget is Governor Hochul is going to be putting in $200 million of funding that can be used to help some of these industrial areas make them more shovel ready, make them more attractive for a developer. So if you got some industrial property that's zoned correctly, I'd be happy to do the legwork on investigating them.
The statement of infrastructure is, that statement was made 10 years ago, that we don't have infrastructure to house the yogurt plant or a cheese plant. Well, 10 years, I haven't seen any program that we're working on trying to get some municipalities to develop.
That's part of some of the work that the Water Resource Agency does too.
We maybe put water in Covington, it wasn't there before. There's quite a few of them on the list of proposed projects, but it takes money.
So just as an example, the Great Lakes Cheese Plant from Allegheny County, there would have had to have been another expansion on the waste treatment plant, even though they just expanded it. There would have to be built a brand new sewer line because the one that is currently that feeds the plant from that area is not large enough. There was not going to be enough water to the point where water would have had to been negotiated also from the town of Yorkshire, as well as drill some additional wells. And then the electricity was not going to be sufficient enough. Well, Arcade does a really good job of in kind of reinvesting in their substations and their electric. When a company comes in and needs like 25 megawatts of power, you can only supply 5. You just can't snap your finger overnight and make that need. And how desperate this company was to get something decided on. I'm not making excuses, Brian. I just know from an economic development standpoint, we kind of know where we are as a county in terms of our infrastructure and what we can chase.
Well, are they currently going to be using Arcade's sewer system for wastewater now? They're down there in Yorkshire, aren't they?
No, they're in Farmersville, Frankfurt. I I feel your pain, I feel every day.
We're working the process of knowing that.
Location, location, location.
Okay, thank you.
don't have a roll.
Thank you. All right, we have, before we move on to the discussion on space allocation, we have 3 resolutions. Here. About a 9 sec. I don't know if it's necessarily order. First resolution, applauding the proposed Connect All initiative and urging waiver of all right-of-way fees for publicly funded broadband projects. And we talked about this in our previous meeting about the fact that the right-of-ways are owned by what?
DOT.
The DOT, and that that's a problem for having additional infrastructure for broadband. That's number 1. Number 2 is resolution requesting the legislature to establish solar panel recycling regulations. Guess, no, this probably came out of which committee out there? Is it economic development or?
Yes.
Which one?
Economic development.
Economic development. Okay, seems like a good idea. Third one is resolution to support climate action plan scoping document. I kind of scanned through this, but I will support it from the standpoint that you brought it to the committee here. Other things. That would help, but anyway, do I have any motion to adopt these? It's Wyoming County resolution. Okay. Motion by Supervisor Kozowski. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay. And finally, we have some discussion on the office shop space for building and grounds department. I might have to subpoena you to appear before planning versus public works.
It's clear as blood. If there was a role, that's role is not with us, but I am.
You want me to sign?
So we're here to talk about your proposal to consolidate, right?
Well, I asked Evan to come up, because he, last month, I brought the proposal to the board. And I think everybody was shocked by the amount of money that a building up there is going to cost. For a couple of months now, I brought different spaces or different plans to the board, and I've gotten no direction. So I need some direction on not just my space, but now Devin has asked for a different space. Just keep going from meeting to meeting. I need some answers somewhere along the line.
Well, let me interject here because your original 6.8.
It was
$5.8 million. I think proposal was a bit of a sticker shock.
Sure.
And because of the two main issues, the cost of materials and prevailing wage aspect.
Right.
So Supervisor Britt had informed me that you had come up with perhaps, or would come up with perhaps scaled back proposal. Is that the case or?
So I think Jim has talked to Devin a little more about that than myself. Last I knew, I was to look into possibly going to the Ag Center, but that really hasn't been very clear.
Well, personally, because we have recently purchased that building. And, we have a lot of space there. We've had, one business that just vacated. I was just thinking in terms of maximizing our utilization of the building, that it would be a good idea to have you and your department located there. But I understand your concerns about having sufficient shop space, right, to do the work that you need to do. I'm open-minded, like, I will listen to anything relative to, but I just want to make sure that we're clear about we're maximizing the utilization of space that we already own.
No, I totally understand that. I don't think the ag center basement is gonna be great space for my department. The noise issues, stuff like that, sure, sure, it's just not set up for what I would need. But I guess,
Make a proposal. If you want to continue to push, or go down the road of working with county highway and relocating there, you're gonna have to come back with something that's a bit scaled back from that. It's a lot of money, 5.8 million, especially if we had to borrow those.
sure, I understand that. The scale back part is, it just, we're looking to consolidate 2 departments into one and add shop space. It doesn't get much scaled back than what that.
Dollars, my friend, dollars. It's the cost. I think that's gonna be the main barrier. And I'm not speaking just for myself.
No, I get
Other
that.
supervisors as well. I just want to be upfront and, realistic with you.
I'm not sure how to provide, realistic numbers to a plan that is unrealistic though for 2 departments. We asked for a space that was a mediocre space, and it's expensive. That's
Where, so,
for the highway. It was a steel structure
okay,
that is 40% shop space.
but is it adequate for their needs currently?
No, that's what stemmed this whole
Is
conversation.
your space currently adequate for your needs?
They're not, so the issue that I have is, it's, I mean, you'll see tomorrow, but when you walk in, you don't really know where to go. We have lots of guests who just walk downstairs and that takes you to office or the conference room. There's no wheelchair, it's not really ADA compliant, so to speak. There's, so someone in a wheelchair, they can't get in. I think you wanted to put a ramp in there, and the ramp would be ridiculously long to get it up, to get it up to the door. So there are some issues that I have. I mean, I can work around it. That's what I would, but if we're talking about a scaled back option, I think it's gonna be, I just don't know how much sense it would make for a scaled back version of what Mike got pulled for, because you're gonna be tearing down most of the building anyway. If we were to go a scaled down version.
You're in the highway.
Because they'd be knocking down walls and such anyways, if that's the option, if that's the route that we want to go, we'd be knocking down walls anyways. I'm not sure how much, I don't think it's gonna get a lot more ski. I just don't think scaling it down makes a whole lot of sense. The cost of doing that is gonna be maybe 3/4 of the price of the quote that like that. It'll be an expensive venture either way.
Okay, so you see the quandary though that we're in.
Absolutely.
I mean, 5.8 million was a fairly substantial sum. And then that was even in itself a little bit open-ended, depending on the price of materials and labor costs and so on. I just have a hard time, justifying that kind of expense to the county taxpayers.
I can totally understand that. I just need to know what I can work with them, because the problem is I still have multiple departments to utilize funding to maximize.
So are you looking for us to tell you where to go? Because we can certainly do that.
I don't feel putting money into the existing highway building is smart either. It doesn't show, it may increase some office space for both departments, but it's not, we're gonna have to put large amounts of money into other buildings to create a shop space. I can sit right here in the basement and build a shop somewhere. But the problem is we have multiple different departments involved in this.
Understand.
So it's a giant price tag, but me building a shop at Highway with Devon would solve two issues there. Plus the health department's issue of storage space that they lack would go to the records department where we currently reside in some of that space. And then the ag center as well is full of just storage items. It would take away a lot of that.
The barn.
In the barn.
So those could be, that could be remediated. You understand that? I mean, we could set up, we could do some things there, but, so I assume that there is first floor space located on in the ag.
There's 900 square feet left, correct?
Okay, would that be adequate for your needs for office space?
That would suffice for us as
Okay.
office space.
So now it becomes a question of a shop, right? Shop space containing and storage and so on. Could the barn be renovated in some shape or form to allow you to do that?
It could be. My concern is that half of it is full of stuff that's not ours already. But what do we do with that? I know, I understand you're not worried about it because it'll go away, but it doesn't.
You've been there, park the darn truck outside. You don't need to park a truck in there for 6 months out of the year. And there's other things that are in there that belong to other departments that could be relocated that would allow you to utilize that space.
But we don't have space to relocate that stuff too. That's my only concern with the ag center shop. We don't have that space.
How much workshop space do you need approximately?
Shop space, if we were to include a break room for the 7 employees I have and a restroom, I'm asking for 40 by 70 right in there, shop space, roughly 3,000 square foot shop space.
Where could we put up a 40 by 70 building? And a few more feet for your office on it. Is there room up to the highway department to put a building up for your needs?
It's too expensive. Way too expensive.
So the initial quote that we got was a combined office building with a shop attached to it. Hooked on to the existing shop we have there. We don't have a ton of space to give to Mike, because we're using it currently. But that's what this proposal was, for a shop / office building design.
The struggle that is not, I'm not conceptually, I am complete agreement. It's the price tag. Spending $6 billion to do this is just out of reach at this juncture. Where we already have existing space in the county that can be utilized.
Well, so unless we found some funding, it's a heavy price tag that we're probably not able to afford at this point. Unless there was some funding found.
I get that. So we do not have, so the county has a lot of land, 0 buildings to utilize. Even next to the records building, we thought, yeah, we put up a building in that field right next to records. Well, there's propane tanks and there's a septic field there. Out front at the health department, there's an 8-inch water main from 1800 and whatever. The highway department has already got 11 buildings or whatever it is on that property that we were looking to consolidate, or the buildings need work to where it's just not
So really, the first things first, let's get veterans relocated. So that Laura can have use of that existing space for her needs. That should be probably priority one. Right, because we have everybody in agreement with that. And you're gonna put them over at the Ag Center in that 900 square foot space or?
Incorrect, there was 3,000 square feet total, they'll occupy roughly 2,000 square feet.
Okay, so it gives you another 1,000 square feet left that you could conceivably use for your.
I already have an office, I don't have a shop, that's what stemmed this whole conversation.
So here's the steps. We need to get you out of this building so that we can relocate IT into your space down there in the basement. That gets them out of their closets and wherever else they're tucked away down there. And that's, everybody agrees with that, right? Correct. IT department says, yes, we can use that space. Correct. So that would be step two. The issue of the shop, I think, could be done with some renovation. I mean, you still will have the existing space out there at Munger's Hill, but maybe for a modest cost, we could renovate that space, or we could renovate the barn at the Ag Center. That way you have that space. I'm a little bit concerned about the Ag Center barn, especially if you're doing a lot of painting and varnishing. Those fumes are gonna be all over, but you can install ventilation systems, you know, blowers, all that. It is an existing building. We have to put a roof on there.
So the building is less than $100,000 building.
Okay.
But it's that ventilation system, all the mechanicals, all the bathrooms, all the office space, that's where the money is. It's not like
We need bathrooms in the.
I still have to go somewhere with my 7 guys. That are vacating this break room here.
Yeah, you're gonna go to the Ag Center.
They don't sit in my office now. It's,
You can't renovate that space to accommodate 1,000 square feet.
there's not enough space there. There's 2 offices and a common area.
Okay, so put you on the first floor, put them in the basement. We have the space that was occupied by the Rebar Associates, open, nobody's using it. Put them there, put you on the first floor. On the first floor. And then renovate the barn to accommodate your shop needs. If you find it necessary to take 2 bays, we'll pull somebody else out there.
I would need to, that's,
whole building?
it's 40 by 60, I'm asking for 70 by 40.
What do you have now? On Munger's Hill?
30 feet by 50 feet.
You have that now? No.
30 feet by 50 feet, plus 2 bays existing with no space to work. That's the problem. I have 0 space to work, a lot of storage space.
Since the majority of your work is gonna be done in the Ag Center, I would imagine, it makes sense to me to have you there. If we need to put up a storage barn out there for people, it's what, a few $1,000, you know, for a, you know, storage barn. Drop it on the property somewhere, they can use it for their storage needs. I just see it as, I'm trying to maximize the utilization of that space.
I know you're trying to do that, but I understand shop area too, and I know we've got, as far as exhaust goes, we have a tenant that is very sensitive to fumes. It's over there at the Ag Center. But I was just talking with Jim Pierce, and maybe a temporary solution would be to look at Breezy Hill as vacant for a shop.
Where you used to be located, up there on the hill.
No, the old bowling alley
Oh, the old bowling alley.
for a shop. Movie stuff. It's sort of reactive. Yeah. I mean, we talked to him about that.
We don't own that, Becky.
And like, yeah, I'll talk to Jim about the white barn out there too. I know somebody's got tons of stuff in there right now, but maybe. For temporary, you know, for a couple years or something.
Where, Breezy Hill?
Well, there's Breezy Hill.
The White Gable Barn out back the
There's
exit.
a white barn.
Yeah, the White Gable Barn, that's located right there.
Yeah,
Sure.
I wasn't part of the program, right?
We don't
Jim still
own
owns
our
that.
land.
Oh,
Right.
way out back.
Right, way out back. There's an area there that you can turn into a really nice shop. There's a lot of square footage in that building, but if he's got it, I don't know. I'm just trying to keep you centered instead of
So
out of town or up the hill.
Maybe you could
A lot
put
of
everything
traveling.
else up under.
he owns that building?
Yeah, he owns it.
Well,
It's
Breezy Hill is
basically
owned by,
separation.
right, Breezy Hill is the one, not the county.
No, it's a county, owned, it's Jim Rutowski owns it. And it's empty right now.
It might be more palatable to lease a small space for a little while than lease a space for a while instead of building.
We already lease space for mental health. And that's,
Not good.
not good,
Right.
not good at all.
I just want to add two things here. The idea of an office shop building put together. I know what it's like to be in a shop, and I know what it's like to be in an office, and having them two buildings all in one. Probably not gonna be very conducive to the office personnel, either making phone calls versus, somebody else out there building temporary walls or building something, slamming the bay and grinding or whatever. So I just like the idea of a one building in office and shop put together. So with Dan saying it seemed like an easier fit of having a separate shop to the office side of things. And the other thing about Devin's office, I agree 120% on the fact that building is not handicap accessible. And quite frankly, I'm upset with myself and I asked some questions 4 years ago, we stuck a bunch of money into it. Why are we sticking money into this building that we shouldn't be using, for public? But once again, I don't want to go and knock the building down and we just stuck a bunch of money for it too. And I'll utilize it some point in time, but we do need to look to the future and make it easier, more centrally located. And, once again, I mean, you talk about the land out there and under Norwood. Yeah, there's a lot of land there, but unfortunately, it's a bad fit for trying to get everything we want to do on there. And,
Especially given the expansion that Laura wants to make in terms of the rear of the building and, opening that up for organizations and.
And then utilizing his shop space that's down there in the record intentionally for the, what's it called?
Well, Gail was already making complaints. Regarding the scales in there.
What's that?
Gail,
She said,
she's had complaints about the fact that the fumes from.
we can do very little in that building, and I feel like the space we have that's heated to do any painting or rear painting, anything like that, that's. So we work outside most times. So I'm looking for direction on what property, because it's, I understand, stay in the ag center. There's just a lot of different variables. I'm looking to expand so it takes care of multiple issues. We're creating an issue, moving people out, and we're occupying more of Rutowski space at the ag center. It's just not gonna bear out. That stuff's always gonna travel back. I'm looking. The shop's gonna be big enough that we have nowhere to go with storage items at all. That's the biggest thing. But I also need to be able to work out of it. So the spaces I have, it just doesn't.
So with the barn with some renovation, maybe we provide some heat, ventilation, with that, the existing garage there.
The entire existing garage, correct,
would work.
I can make that work without office space.
All right. So we just have to find a way to accommodate those other tenants who are utilizing that space, you know, for storage, right?
Sure.
You could physically relocate to the ag center, your entire department, if you were to occupy it, both the first floor and the existing
With some minor renovations.
minor renovations, okay, that could be accomplished. That way, you take care of your needs, you free up the space in the basement for IT, and we get veterans over there, right?
Veterans will be there, they'll be there no matter what.
Alright, so next on my list, in terms of space, is fire training center. You know, we're, I think, gonna be in a better position shortly to do some things up there. But I think in terms of priority, you were there, I mean, the day we were there, the generators weren't working. You had to send a guy out to babysit, right? You know, that needs some serious work. I'm sorry, Devin.
Well,
You're not on my radar. You're not on my radar.
I just want to be clear, that our intention isn't to shove that building down your roads. We just thought it logically, it made a lot of sense, but
I understand.
by all means, we're not trying to shove it down your roads.
No, I understand, but you could put a man lift elevator in there, you know, if you needed to move people from the.
We'll carry people up. I know that's a
But, you know, you go up to that fire training center and, you know, you're there on a tour, the generator's comped up, you know? Come on, and they need a lot of work in that particular building, you know that as well as I, that building is just suffering. And then, in the back of my mind, is I'm gonna do something on mental health. So.
So with the fire training center, we'll have to revisit what was planned prior. I know when I kind of first took the seat, or even before then, we started throwing numbers together of what it would take to renovate that building.
Yeah.
That $500,000 to $600,000 mark was materials.
Right.
So project that size, we would have to have labor involved.
Sure.
Materials are up 30-40%. Absolutely. Spray foam, steel, stuff like that.
I'm looking at.
Budget is growing on that project alone.
Oh, yeah, but
It'll end up $1 million bill very, very quickly.
absolutely, but our priority needs to be things like replacing those that generator.
Sure.
You know, I'm sure we're gonna have to make some investment in that building. With how many dollars, you know?
Jim, don't throw water, especially in the winter time. We go in that truck that we pull up the hydro seeder with. Throwing water stores and equipment in there, plus that truck in the winter time, correct? In the barn.
I don't know if the truck's in there, but I know they have other stuff in there.
I'm pretty sure that where we put the truck.
Trucks in there that, is it?
Hydro seeders up at the highway.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I know that's up there because they use it a lot. Use it when we use it. But the truck gets stored in that barn, plus some other equipment.
Yes.
So then,
Like Ann said, you know, possible, you know, of building another building for a cold storage for that kind of stuff, and then renovate the existing garage for Mike's needs.
Are you saying building for his shop?
yeah. That's what
Either one or the other, you got it.
I was referring to that.
My position would be, it would be far less costly to renovate the barn to meet his needs than it would be to build a new building out
But we got, in order to do that, we gotta have a place for all the stuff that's in there.
there. Yeah, but it's a mishmash, you know, it's not organized and it's not well laid out.
Mr. Chairman, we do have a little square of land, but how much was that, you said, 75?
Yeah, I think I showed Mike the spot before, we took over the ag center, there's actually a portion of the property that we currently own now that goes beyond the parking lot, behind the neighbor's garage, where the garden is next door.
That well is very close is all. It's a lot closer than it looks. I scoped that out that afternoon.
Okay.
But
And it's
not that, you know, to put a 40 by 40 up or something like that as a storage building would probably be fine in that location.
for cold storage.
What's there now? Nothing?
Nothing. I think we were thinking it would be something that could be parking.
Well, that's our trees that have building that. I mean, my concern with moving Mike over to the ag center is parking. He's gonna be moving a lot of vehicles over there.
It'll be 18 vehicles with our fleet vehicles.
Yeah. So we got room on that land to expand the parking lot.
Yes.
No, just there.
The gravel area,
The gravel area in the back.
behind.
So it's,
I mean, because we're gonna have to add parking over there.
it's really not enough space, Jerry, to answer the question bluntly. It's what's there since the roofers have vacated. All the fleet vehicles will end up back on that stone area, so whether it's stone or blacktop. The fleet vehicles of the departments will occupy that whole space. They're already looking to park on the street when they have visitors at the ag center.
And if
So that's it, right?
There's less parking.
Then you have to remember.
I was there twice
Remember
last
about
week,
the personal cars.
and I had no problem with parking
At the ag center,
at the exit.
many times it's full.
I understand, but I was there.
You gotta anticipate it's gonna be full.
No problem.
So is there, where is there room in the back for your 20 cars? 18, 20 vehicles.
That's what I'm saying. There's not a lot of space to expand it. We put up a 40 by 40 and we're already parking vehicles on that stone lot to open up parking spaces for the public. So I know Cornell, they just sent out an email that people will be parking on the streets for meetings or events that they're having.
that's where Cornell just sent me an email asking if it was my parking lot at the town hall. And they do that probably 4 or 5 times a year.
But we also have general public parking in the ag center parking lot as well. Residents who live in that area.
Once in a while, they do use that. We find out who they are.
You get Yummy's customers parking there?
Yummy's circle.
Yeah.
Around.
They don't park, they say their cars.
I think they park on the street, don't they?
They try to park on the street.
Yeah.
No, usually it's a turnaround.
They park over at the stores.
I think we should try by that land that's behind the ag center.
That's pretty.
Try to buy it.
Sure, just for parking lot.
Probably make it very good.
And then
Sell it, sure.
And then the space that's there, it's gonna fill up quickly.
So he must have maintained it right away to get back to that barn or
There's an
something.
easement.
Yeah.
Yeah, Don and I have discussed that. It doesn't matter where the easement is on the property as long as he's able to get back there. But that critter, we have less than what it looks there. So let's put that in. So to move forward for my department, should I start getting estimates on renovation of both office space and to redo that barn as needed?
I would say sure, that would be prudent. Sure. That way we have a dollar here, sure we can look at it, you know?
Maybe a little bit of cost.
Is there room to add onto that barn? And on the east side of it? Or is it off
Because
the coast of the
it's up
water?
against the creek already.
Yeah, there's a right way around the back there, right here.
Go ahead and use it, just find the room to put soil and water equipment, that's all.
Yeah, I think there's.
I mean, down there.
What do they need, soil and water? They need space for outside. They can park their vehicle outside, right?
Not that one.
Well,
Every other department parks their vehicle outside.
they have equipment inside as well.
Yeah.
They do, they have,
The higher seater.
not the high seat,
That's
there's
it,
other.
that's
I'd say
it.
we were zoning.
Exactly. They have their chainsaws, they have their workbench, they have multiple items.
We'll buy you a 12 by 12 storage shed. We'll get down.
Actually, I just brought those up for about $5,000.
You know, my dollar figure for that remodeling of that building is $500,000, you know? It's $500,000.
Can I quote that?
Sure. I can solve it.
I just saw it.
You know, it doesn't require us to borrow huge sums of money to do.
I agree. It's not that I don't agree, I'm just looking to solve, like I said.
I get it.
When we went into this, I presented different ideas and they went.
Sure.
They went nowhere.
Right.
So that's where,
Well,
this was the well-received idea, was at highway. So we,
well received. Good, that, okay.
so,
All right. Yeah, the estimates.
am I getting estimates to relocate current tenant space as well?
Absolutely. Anything that will accommodate or maximize our utilization of the existing space that we own. And just to be clear, I mean, when you come with those estimates, but assume they come from public works.
That's why we're here.
Space allocation here. But when you spend money, you gotta go for this to you wanna spend money. That's where I draw the line, right?
Back to the clear as mud thing. I saw that.
Is that clear as mud? Where you go, we'll talk about here, but how much it's gonna cost you to get there. I go to your home. Is that fair? Is that fair to you?
That's fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's where it should be.
Okay. Anything else to say?
Sir, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Anything else to come in your plan? We're adjourned.
Battery gone, did you? Think I you plugged in, huh?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Good thing I didn't ask,